Morrison means more.
More peace of mind, knowing your security guards are well-trained professionals with a track record of getting results and serving exactly your needs. Morrison security personnel are constantly trained for readiness and are prepared for any given situation that can occur at a job site.
Morrison means more.
More reliability of management for quick and effective solutions at your property. Morrison Security is responsive. They're always available to you.
Morrison means more.
More awareness of any challenges you face with protecting people, property, and assets. For armed and unarmed security, don't settle for substandard or average. Security is too important. Contact them and find out how you can get more. MorrisonSecurity.com. MorrisonSecurity.com.
Morrison means more.
When you're looking for a caring dentist and an experienced dental staff who'll treat you like family, then it's time to call Dr. Y at Oaklawn Dental LLC. Dr. Yerkes and his team will create a smile that you'll want to share with family and friends. Go to oaklawndentist.com for a complete list of services, or call Oaklawn Dental for an appointment with Dr. Y at 708-424-5700. And for a limited time, get a $100 credit on your new account. Call 708-424-5700. Oaklawn Dental LLC, for the smile you deserve.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy out with the old, in with the old. BLM Brandon unveiling a new public safety strategy yesterday in conjunction with the City Hall brass, including Police Superintendent Snelling, some business leaders. If it felt like deja vu all over again for the umpteenth time watching Chicago politicians talk about public safety, then you were feeling the right feelings, because it was.
Dan, it has a name. Dan, it has a name. It's called the People's Plan for Community Safety, okay? And it came with it some nice flyers and brochures about this new plan.
It's mainly a marketing problem, public safety in Chicago, mainly a marketing problem.
The policies of old have created the crisis that we are living in right now. My administration is not going backwards.
Going forward into that buzzsaw. He sat down with an ABC7 reporter and talked about this $100 million he's devoting to an ounce of prevention, violence prevention. Again, I think wasn't Ounce of Prevention actually Maggie Daly's nonprofit? Wasn't that what it was called?
I think so.
So just so long we've been hearing this sort of phraseology is my point. Here's you see if you can discern. The question is, what's $100 million being used for?
Right.
The answer is,
I don't know.
Well, I can't really discern what he said. Maybe somebody can help.
We have strategically identified neighborhoods and blocks where the violence is most pervasive, where disinvestment has been historically implemented. And by doing this, we are going right at the problem.
When you're talking about the $100 million, again, I'll just circle back to that for violence prevention. How is that being used again? I mean, in terms of how many people? I mean,
it's already being spent now. Look, the budget just passed, right? But we're already seeing the type of comprehensive, collaborative approach that is yielding the results that I'm confident that those results are going to expand.
We're already seeing the kind of comprehensive, collaborative approach that's going to yield the results that I'm confident the results will expand. He must be borrowing Biden's speechwriter. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. You feel safer? You didn't even notice. The money's already being spent, and it's already producing the results that we hope to see expand.
Well, the thing is, when he said we're going to target certain neighborhoods. Hey, buddy, this just in, all 77 of Chicago neighborhoods are experiencing violent crime, or at least some sort of crimes, whether it's either carjacking or auto theft or your catalytic converter being stolen. I mean, he needs a little bit of more comprehensive plan. But you know who else they trotted out yesterday? The new Dr. Awardee, because she's going to expand her health professional role to stop violence, See if you can wrap your brain around this one.
We are expanding the role of health professionals in crisis response. When someone is in crisis, they need professionals who understand how to respond to those crises.
So they're going to show up at the scene when there's a
well,
violent crime?
it's the whole thing. It's again the old saw from the left that gun violence is mainly a public health problem, not a law enforcement problem. So that's, I mean, again, it was all of the shibboleths that you've come to enjoy over the last 30 to 50 years in Chicago being repackaged and represented with different personnel. By the way, I misspoke. Maggie Daly, thanks for the correction, alert listener. After School Matters was Maggie Daly's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Ounce of Prevention's another one, and it's the same stuff. After school programs, violence interrupters. Basically, what you had unfurled yesterday was a bunch of new city spending, an expansion of basically welfare programs, and then some distribution of cash to the cronies of the fifth floor, the new fifth floor. Deputy Mayor Gary and Gatewood.
Education, housing, sustainable employment, and expanding access to health.
That's the agenda. Could you be more general? I don't think you can. Education, housing, public health, right.
Homelessness
what specifically?
Prevention, Dan. So the major plan touts investments in violence and homelessness prevention.
Well, I know, but
anti-violence. Like,
what does that mean?
We're going to
I'll tell
hire
you
more
what
interrupters?
Yeah, that's what it means.
That's what it means?
And we're gonna distribute more transfer payments. We're going to increase the amount of the transfer payments that we currently distribute. Some combination of the two. You just throw out the topic areas: education, healthcare, housing, public safety. We're investing in these things. All right, that's a wrap.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You could also reach us all morning long on our text line, which is fired up and ready to go. 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling brought up root causes, and I'm not going to be as properly uncharitable to him as I would be to, say, Kamala Harris when she brings up root causes. But it's just interesting. I wish she would take it somewhere. Somebody would take that somewhere. Listen to Snelling.
We cannot do this alone. We've been throwing enforcement at these issues for decades, only to come out with the same result.
Right. So why doesn't somebody say it? I mean, why doesn't Brandon Johnson say it? He's a father. Two-parent family. Jason Riley, writing in the Wall Street Journal this week, the biggest root cause of crime? Fatherlessness. I mean, it's just over and over and over again. The things that we know to be true that the political ruling class dutifully ignores because you don't really get any political bang. You don't develop a constituency of dependence if you're talking about personal responsibility and you're providing support for a model that is intended to provide people the path to live independent lives as opposed to dependent lives on the state. The success sequence, which we've talked about innumerable times. Finish high school, get a job, don't commit a crime, get married before you have children, 99% chance of never living in poverty. Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask of every American? I don't think so. And there's new research on the impact of fathers in the homes. Institute of Family Studies that doesn't deny that economic conditions play a role, but and also that changes. So that's an aspect of it. Changes in law enforcement and the prosecution of criminals have also had a hand in the recent uptick in violent crime in American cities, as we've talked about. But here's the kicker. Cities are safer when two-parent families are dominant and more crime-ridden when family instability is common. It's just the fact. Nationwide, the total rate is about 48% higher in cities that have above the median share of single-parent families compared to cities that have fewer single-parent families, even when controlling for variables such as race, income, and educational attainment. The association between family structure and total crime rates, as well as violent crime rates in cities across the United States, remains statistically significant. It's the one root cause, quote unquote, that no one, certainly on the left, will talk about. And many on the right are afraid to talk about, too. But if you're interested in making communities safer and you want to have this global discussion of root causes, then you can't have it without discussing the family. You just can't. You can talk round and round and round about it. You can create new programs. You can fund some more violence interrupters. You can provide grants to more storefront preachers. You can expand your existing transfer payment programs. You're not going to get around it. David in Winnetka, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, guys. Happy Friday. Thank you for taking my call. So in 2017 to 2020, I drove for Uber. I drove predominantly where Uber drivers didn't want to drive, deep south, deep west, predominantly because I was fascinated by these little gangbangers. They'd get in my car, they'd have their pieces, and, you get to talk to them. It was very interesting for me.
Hopefully only talk, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was crazy? Their angry scowls would turn to, different looks and be like, wow, this guy's, interested in me, and da-da-da. It was very interesting. But
that's how you got that 5-star Uber rating.
Yeah. They tell me, they tried to get me high. They smoke, they hand me joints. I'm like, guys, I'm driving. I'm an old dude. And they're like, come back tonight. I'm like, are you nuts? I don't want to be here in the day.
All right, what time? 7 o'clock?
Yeah,
7:30? What time's good for you?
Light me a blunt. Let's go.
So I guess my point being that, I could tell, I was driving, I could tell things were getting more violent and this and that. I got my first firearm because my grandfather always said better to have one and not need it than to need and not have it. And I got robbed twice doing that job. Once by gunpoint, I got jumped, and I got run into also with a passenger in my car that was on Fulton in broad daylight on a Sunday at about 2 o'clock. That guy pulled a gun on me as well. And this was all in 2019. This is before BLM hit. This was before the defund the police nonsense, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. They've got to get a lot more tougher, sending a stern message of like, hey, if you mess with some mofo, you might get blasted back or whatever. Crime is not right. And, it's just, they'd also have to probably change the rules of engagement because now people are getting punched in the face. They're not even seeing it coming. They're falling down. They're hitting their head. A lot of people are dying out there, and it's just got to stop. It's insane.
Thanks for the call, David. Appreciate it.
They're emboldened because there's no consequences for their actions.
Well, that's right. And they're also emboldened because they have a pretty good idea how docile the prey are that they're targeting, meaning Chicago residents. I mean, you think they don't pay attention to the politics of the city? We didn't talk about this when we had Jim Finnegan on. No, not what Finnegan, the cop, John Finnegan,
yeah,
right?
Last week.
The Finnegan's Take podcast that Neil Edelstein produced. Anyway, one of the topics I would love to get back to with him or other police on is gang involvement in politics, because it goes back a long ways. When you had really sophisticated gang operations under the likes of kingpins like Hoover and Fort, I mean, there were stories about the level of gang affiliation with particular political campaigns. I mean, these guys played the political game as well as anybody in terms of, hey, if I've got the alderman in my back pocket, then I've got territory that's safe, or certainly I have more influence in how the territory on which I operate is monitored and so forth. And it's sort of the same thing now. It's not the level of sophistication with kingpins like that, but don't think that because they're gangbangers, they're dumb or they're not paying attention. They respond to incentives. Predators respond to incentives just like the law-abiding do. And what are the incentives that politicians are giving? The mayors and the Cook County State's attorneys, even some of our police superintendents, what are the incentives that they're presenting? And what are the incentives that Chicago residents themselves are presenting? Laying in the supine position in response to the lawlessness that has become endemic in the city. They pay attention. They know. Root causes. All right, coming up at 5:38, we'll talk a little bit about the migrants because there's some developments both in the city as well as in Leafy Oak Park. They were only able to live their values for 30 days. I expected more, 5:38.
Eviction notices have been sent out. But now let's head into the newsroom. The one and only Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
36 degrees, 5:31. The Biden administration says there's been no assessment on whether Israel is following international law in its war against Hamas terrorists. Spokesman Matthew Miller is saying this morning the administration is monitoring the conflict and is urging Israeli forces to minimize casualties. The U.S. Senate delaying its holiday break. They're returning to work next week. They're set to hammer out some type of immigration deal. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will be back in session on Monday, forced there by Republicans, he says, and that negotiators will work through the weekend. Court records show the FBI was tipped off by the social media platform Discord about a teen's plans of a mass shooting at an Ohio synagogue. The FBI says the team was possibly coordinating with individuals in Washington state. Elon Musk is apparently getting into the school business. Bloomberg is reporting. Tax documents show that associates of the multi-billionaire are planning to launch a new primary and secondary school, eventually a university, in the city of Austin. A shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway has left a tow truck driver in serious condition this morning. State police say the shooting occurred in the inbound lanes of I-290 near California. The investigation shut down the expressway for more than 1 hour. After a month in Oak Park, migrants welcomed into the city by the village are telling those migrants to move out. Oak Park agreed to allocate an additional $1 million to continue housing a group of 160 migrants brought in from Chicago's 15th District Police Station on Halloween. With that funding set to run out February 6th, the village has sent out a letter to the migrants telling them they must move out by the end of January. 3 were injured in a house fire in Glendale Heights last night. Glendale Heights fire officials say the blaze broke out around 10 p.m. in the 1400 block of Divine Drive. When crews arrived, police were helping victims get out. 3 were transported to the hospital in one in serious condition. A body found in the trunk of a burning car in the Bridgeport neighborhood this morning. Chicago police tell us firefighters doused the vehicle fire and a victim was found unresponsive in the trunk of that car. The victim pronounced dead on the scene. Browns and Bears fighting for their playoff lives as they clash in Cleveland on Sunday. Bears crushing the Lions in Week 14 with the help of re-energized Justin Fields. Joe Flacco will make his second straight start at quarterback for the Browns. Bulls over the Heat in Miami, 124-116, and the Blackhawks were crushed by the Kraken, 7-1. The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. With decades of C-suite experience, Turnkey knows small business. Their team of veteran consultants know how to reduce costs and grow new revenue streams, all without having to hire on-site pros. Turnkey has solutions for your business. Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees a country lost.
The people who want business as usual want us to remain indebted, because I guess 33 trillion isn't enough. The managed decline of America, who have surrendered their belief in the United States to the idea that, well, we're the problem.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
Pluto TV is your home for the holidays. Enjoy Christmas classics, all for free. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV, stream now, pay never.
It is 5:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. On the Ike, stop-and-go traffic inbound as you travel right at Costner because of an accident in the neighborhood there. Traffic is starting to back up at Cicero all the way inbound to Costner this morning. 26 in from 390 into the old post office. Dan Ryan Express lanes all jammed up between 51st and 35th due to a much earlier accident. I-80 solid traffic now westbound between the Tri-State and I-57 due to an overturned semi blocking two left lanes. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Increasing cloudiness and mild high 51, cloudy overnight, low 38. Rain begins about 8:30 tomorrow morning. Drizzle all the way till the afternoon and a high of 44. Currently, 36 at O'Hare, 37 at Midway, 28 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The headline, the Tribune on November 14th, just a month ago. Oak Park taking the lead on coordinated Western suburban response to migrant crisis, looking for others to partner, officials say. It was a hopeful time back 30 days ago. where Oak Park was going to lead the land in living its values, bringing communities in the region together to partner in providing sanctuary for whoever wants to come to Chicagoland whenever they want to come and under any circumstances on which they'd like to arrive. And yet, a month later, the headline is this. Oak Park, which has been providing shelter for migrants, will require them to move out of hotel YMCA by January 31. No. What happened?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. Yeah, they got the eviction notices yesterday, 160 people that have been staying at the Carlton of Oak Park Hotel and then the West Cook YMCA. You have until January 31st. At least they waited till after the holidays, Dan,
Well, I don't understand what happened in Oak Park. I'm flummoxed. I need some assistance. This is the reporting on it, just to substantiate what we've described.
Since November, the village has offered temporary shelter to move more than 150 migrants at the West Cook YMCA and the Carlton Hotel, but the funding to keep them there is set to run out by February 6th. Yesterday, the village sent migrants a notice to be out of the two shelters by the end of January. In a memo, the village detailing the plan moving forward, saying in part, the village may be able to help asylum seekers relocate to another city or state if they have access to stable housing available in that location. If anyone is unable to identify another option, the village will help individuals and families enter the Chicago Shelter Program in January
Send them to Chicago.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Just cross that line over there. Go across Austin Boulevard. There you go. Now you're in Chicago.
How did Oak Park become the Martha's Vineyard of the Midwest? Oak Park trustee Ravi Parakat saying the same thing that you heard in this memo. This is about filthy money. Since when does money mean anything in Oak Park? Certainly not when it comes to living your values. You can't put a price tag on your values.
We are not able to create a long-term path for these migrants, and we have done that at potentially the expense of them getting better service and better opportunities through Chicago.
Sure.
It's not you, it's me. We need to give you a better opportunity.
Right. You can find someone better. Chicago. We're not good enough for you. Chicago.
And
that's the right fit for you.
Yeah, he described it as, quote, an unfortunate situation, Dan. We're not leading them anywhere. It's just housing in a temporary shelter, which doesn't get them closer to any of the reasons they made their trek to this country.
They've run out of money in a month. You're telling me that the village elders that sit on the Oak Park Council, the Susan Buchanans of the world, wouldn't be able to find the necessary resources to maintain Oak Park's status as a welcoming city? I mean,
they're out of their $1 million that they set aside for them.
What's $1 million? I mean, pass the hat. We're talking about a community full of retired Birkenstock-wearing 60s refugees that, had a nice life. They made it. They're living in Oak Park. They love the high property taxes.
Love it. Can't get
love
enough.
everything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they could look. I mean, if they had to, if they weren't liquid and they had to cash in a few investments or take out a home equity loan, I mean, they'd be happy to do it to live their values. Has anybody asked? I think the Oak Park elders are vastly underestimating the giving spirit of Oak Park residents.
Yeah,
that's what I say, and I think it should be put to the test.
They threw up their hands too soon. I mean, they should ask Oak Park residents, hey, if you have an extra room or something. There was one woman, she was featured on Channel 7. We had it a while ago. We never played the audio, but she took in 4 migrants, and it's going swimmingly.
Yeah.
She considers them family now.
Well,
she
good.
watches the grandkids. She calls them her grandkids. I think but she's also, well, whatever. But she's living her values. So they should ask people in Oak Park. It's only 160 people.
Right. Oak Park, a community as welcoming as Oak Park, can't come up with 160 residences for the migrant families and thousands more as needed. I mean, does Oak Park want to lose its status as a welcoming city? Are we going to have to consider The reality that Oak Park is no longer legitimately welcoming?
They said ultimately that
You're gonna have
only
to put a sign up.
Yeah, only the larger governments of Chicago and the state of Illinois can handle the capacity of this migrant issue.
We're a sanctuary state,
Yeah,
not a
we're all
sanctuary city, not a sanctuary county. We're those two, but we're a sanctuary state. That means everybody. Everybody chips in. Everybody plays their role, right?
So disappointed. I don't know how we could go on.
I mean, $1 million? This is chump change. Where is Susan Buchanan? Fresh off of her environmental assessment of the Brighton Park migrant camp location.
Which backfired horrifically in her face. Yes.
Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hi.
Where's Western
they-
Springs volunteering?
Well, I'm telling you, I would take a nice family in. I've got an extra bedroom over there. I would actually, if I had time to be home and feed them and entertain them. I don't know, Amy, but my friends in Oak Park, people over there who give families gifts every Christmas. They go to their houses, they take care of them at Christmas time, but they won't let them stay in their homes, except for the woman you just talked about. They've talked about it ad nauseum. It's beyond the point of ridiculous. 30 days, $1 million. Are you kidding me? The headline. What do you have to do to get through to these people? You can't get through to them. That's the answer.
Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. I mean, look, I think you could. Oak Park is not afraid to impose its will when they know what's right. I mean, these are, basically they're authoritarian-oriented people. So why not just force people to take in migrants? If they're not willing to volunteer, we will volunteer you for you. I mean, drastic times call for drastic measures. You got to protect the welcoming brand at all costs. You got to protect that Oak Park shield. That's what I say. Carl, Big Cabin, Oklahoma.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, I'm totally surprised you must not have had enough coffee this morning. You're missing the elephant in the room of that. This is a prime example of the powers that be running out of other people's money. Socialism. It's been tried. It didn't work. It's been tried. It didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. It never works. Socialism fails every time.
Well, it's a failure of the imagination, Carl, because, $1 million and they're out of money in Oak Park? Come on, nobody believes that. What's their annual budget? It's got to be at least in the tens of millions. Just the village budget, not including the Parks District and the schools and the extra cash that all of those commune veterans have lying around the house.
Well,
come on.
According to the Tribune article, they were hoping to get some of that $8 million, that grant that was supposed to go to Joliet Township, but that was rejected. And now they have a new bus policy, so you can't, anytime they're going to drop somebody off, they redirect them to the city of Chicago landing zone.
Shoot to kill order on the bus drivers.
Impound immediately if you pull up here. This is just a fascinating turn of events. I'm shocked. And this whole thing started because on Halloween night, some Oak Park residents took some migrants who were sleeping outside the Austin Police District and brought them to the Oak Park one. And that's how this whole thing started, when they thought, we need to help out. But now there are no more handouts.
I can't wait for January 31st, the mariachi band, the balloons, the ice cream social, a lot of tears.
Maybe
Definitely
they could
a lot of tears.
Pen pals like they did in Martha's Vineyard, remember?
Oh, yeah, no
Let's
question.
Stay in touch.
It's going to be you changed my life, now get the frack out of here. Do not come back.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't want to say you're not welcome, but Ken in Geneva, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I always love your show. It just seems to be the Illinois way. They did this with the COVID relief funds where they misappropriated and laundered the money, and they did it with the $100 million settlement from J.P. Morgan Chase for the homeowner fraud, mortgage fraud, and they paid off teachers' unions with 78% of it, and then the public employees. So they take the money, they rape the taxpayers, they steal and launder, and then they do it again, and now that's what they're doing with this stuff, and it's just disgusting.
Thanks for the call, Ken.
Somebody texted it. Dan and Amy, I'll take two 20-year-old Brazilian twin sisters.
Oh, Sean was texting in?
Oh.
George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, Dan. Ernest Hemingway once said Oak Park had broad lawns and narrow minds.
Yes.
Here's another example of that.
Yes, that's a great Hemingway quote. Thanks for the call, George. Stands the test of time. Yeah, it's so funny that they love to claim, well, I guess some of them probably don't anymore because, he's a dead white male. He has no artistic value. He's a misogynist. But generally, Oak Park still claims, because of the status, the birthplace of Ernest Hemingway, and the disdain he had for their fathers and grandfathers. That is a fun reminder. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Hey, you know what really ticks me off no end is we got people coming back. I have personal friends that have come back from wars, maimed, mental illness, drug and alcohol abuse, lost their families, literally living under Wacker Drive at this point after being somewhat successful before they went in. And where's the welcoming mat for these people? Where's any cities that you can think of that said we welcome you in? Here's $1 million. It's illegal people that are getting this. People that have went out and fought for our country are suffering right now. And I'm telling you the honest to God truth. I know them. I know a lot of people. So it just makes me sick what's going on. Really sick.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Well, I mean, that's the difference, isn't it, too, on a serious note? The whole of government approach, that's one of the new favorite phrases. The whole of government approach, the wraparound services for people who came into this country illegally, for the most part, not asylum seekers, not even asylum applicants, for the most part, exceptions, but for the most part. Whole of government, wraparound services, all hands on deck. And for veterans, which comprise, a significant percentage of the homeless and those struggling with mental health issues, as he was saying. I mean, the scandals that we've reported over the years within the VA in terms of the failure to provide the health care that was guaranteed people who served our country in the armed services. And you never have, you have focus from time to time. If a scandal at the VA breaks out, then you have focus and people talk about it and what are we doing and you tell the stories. But then it sort of goes away and they just sort of blend back into the background, the larger background of urban and increasingly suburban decay around the country. But you never have politicians do the sort of the whole of government approach to solve this once and for all, to ensure that we're going to keep our promises once and for all to people who served our country. It is a very telling juxtaposition. By the way, just speaking of City of Chicago, good news for those who are a little bit more concerned with protecting their reputation as welcoming people.
Yeah.
There will be no sanctuary city ballot question on the forthcoming ballot. Did not get through the city council. 31 alderhumans did vote to put it on the ballot, but needed 2/3 through some legislative maneuvering. So, no, we're not going to embarrass anyone by having a significant percentage of Chicago residents vote against maintaining that sanctuary city designation. So, congratulations, Chicago has secured and protected its shield as a welcoming city. Oak Park, you could be a little bit more like Chicago. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Santa's coming to town. Yeah! Oh, my God!
On AM 560.
Santa here? I know him.
The Answer. You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel. Not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Calling all Patriots. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me on the Patriots Alaska cruise in June 2024. We'll dive deep into geopolitical trends and unpack the influences shaping the world today. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other Patriots on an epic 7-day journey. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. Join us from June 29th to July 6, 2024. Book online, patriotsalaskacruise.com.
All right. Christmas is just 10 days away. What have you got in your significant other? May I suggest a pajamagram, the Smooth Seduction Satin Package, 4 gifts in one. You've got the satin nightie, the robe, plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. You heard that right. That's 4 gifts delivered right to your door, ready to go under the tree. Silky, sensuous, glides over the skin, designated to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. The Smooth Seduction Satin Gift Set is your ticket to a very nice winter season, the gift that keeps on giving all season long. But guess what? This sells out, so go to pajamagram.com, and tell them Dan and Amy sent you.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally, too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, we'll review some recent presidential polling and hear from a retired Capitol Police officer who backs what Vivek Ramaswamy had to say on that CNN town hall we discussed yesterday. That's all at 6:06.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
We're following breaking news in the Red Sea this morning where ballistic missiles fired from rebel-held territory in Yemen have now struck 2 ships today. Fox News with the very latest on that developing story in a moment, and a shooting on the Eisenhower has left a tow truck driver in serious condition. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
It's a fate the relatives of hostages in Gaza fear. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We've learned this morning that 3 more Hamas captives who we thought were alive have now been confirmed to be dead.
This days after Israel said 20 of the 130-plus hostages Hamas is holding are dead. Fox's Greg Palcott in Israel reports 2 of the new casualties were soldiers.
Sergeant Ron Sherman, another Corporal Nick Beiser. They were both kidnapped from a base not far from the Gaza Strip, as well as a civilian, 28-year-old Elia Toldano. He was seized from that music festival that was targeted by the brutal Hamas terrorists.
Well, Greg also reports he can hear Israeli bombings continuing in Gaza. He's near that border. The U.S. has been urging the Israelis to do more to protect civilians. More than 18,000 Palestinians have been killed. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will meet today with the Palestinian president after talks in Israel. Sullivan also reacted to ongoing attacks in the Middle East by Iran-backed Houthi rebels.
We are building a coalition. We are working to
ensure that and rally the nations of the world, all of whom have an interest in seeing this stop.
Today, 2 cargo ships were hit by projectiles from Yemen. One of them caught fire in the Red Sea. A massive defense policy bill worth $886 billion just needs President Biden's signature to give U.S. troops a pay raise and extend a key foreign surveillance tool. It also provides $300 million in additional military aid to Ukraine. But another bill to provide $61 billion more to Ukraine remains held up at the Senate, which has delayed a holiday recess to keep working on it.
Vladimir Putin is watching closely. He is eager to see us abandon Ukraine and thinks he's getting that done.
But Democratic Senate Leader Chuck Schumer is facing a Republican roadblock to the national security bill that would also give aid to Israel and Taiwan. GOP senators demand stricter border policies to stop a record illegal immigration surge. America's listening to Fox News.
36 degrees this morning. 6:02 is our time on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway has left a tow truck driver in very serious condition. Illinois State Police say the shooting occurred this morning in the inbound lanes of I-290 near California. The investigation into the shooting shut down the expressway for more than 1 hour. After a month in Oak Park, migrants welcomed into the village of Oak Park are being told to get prepared to move out. Oak Park agreed to allocate an additional $1 million to continue housing a group of about 160 brought over from a Chicago police station on Halloween. But that funding is set to run out February 6th. The village sending a letter to migrants this week telling them they must move out by the end of January. 3 are injured in a house fire in Glendale Heights. The Glendale Heights fire chief says the blaze broke out Thursday night around 10 p.m. When crews arrived, police officers were helping the victims out of the home. 3 were transported in serious condition. A body was found in the trunk of a burning car in the Bridgeport neighborhood this morning. The victim pronounced dead at the scene. Mayor Brandon Johnson unveiling his public safety plan for Chicago. Mayor says what he's calling the People's Plan for Community Safety will tackle the problem of crime through outreach and intervention.
That this approach will show results and deliver a safer Chicago for all of us because it shares the responsibility of safety across the city. Not one person nor one entity can solve the decades of disinvestment. It is literally going to take all of us.
It includes additional taxpayer spending on education, economic opportunity, community, and environment. Chicago aldermen are blocking a measure that would add a question to next spring's ballot, asking voters whether to end Chicago's status as a sanctuary city. And the Chicago School Board is considering ending selective enrollment. Board voting to approve a resolution to support neighborhood schools and move away from the school choice system. That was one of Mayor Johnson's campaign promises. Browns and Bears still prepping for their fight on Sunday in Cleveland. The Bulls snap a 2-game skid with a 124-116 victory over the Heat in Miami. Blackhawks gave up multiple goals each period in a 7-1 loss to Seattle. The news service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees only one end to the war in Israel.
As this war continues and more Palestinians are getting killed, the question is on the table. Is the cost of the human life of Gaza worth the eradication of Hamas? And I'm sorry, moral clarity tells us it is. This is war, and if they don't stop Hamas, they're going to do it over and over and over again.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
Bettenhausen Mobility is the fastest growing authorized Braun Ability dealer serving the Chicagoland area. Bettenhausen offers a complete lineup of wheelchair accessible vehicles with the options to fit all your mobility needs. As a Braun Ability dealer, Bettenhausen Mobility can provide sales and service to all accessible vehicles and mobility solutions on several makes and models. Whether you need side entry with manual or power operation or different ramp options, Bettenhausen Mobility has a solution for you. Showroom open at BettenhausenMobility.com.
6:07. A check of the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time and on the Ike inbound. The serious trouble, stop-and-go traffic, Harlem Avenue to Costner. An accident on the right-hand shoulder. Car may have also struck a pedestrian there as well, and police and emergency vehicles are on the scene. Stevenson inbound 25 minutes, 3:55 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan slowing up 91st all the way up to the Skyway, 18 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays on the Tri-State due to a crash northbound right at 175th. I-80 jammed westbound between the Tri-State and I-57 due to an overturned semi blocking two left-hand lanes. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast and the latest from our meteorologist Steve Williams.
Increasing cloudiness, a rather mild day. High today 51. It'll be cloudy tonight, low 38. Rain and drizzle beginning for late morning tomorrow, the high 44. Morning shower in the area Sunday, otherwise a cloudy day, the high 46. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
In Chicago right now, 36 degrees. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just doing a quick stop, look, and listen 30 days before the Iowa caucus, the Republican presidential polling. And in particular, the question that was supposed to bedevil Trump and be a weapon for his opponents. Trump can't beat Biden and I can. Well, Bloomberg Morning Consult, swing state polling. Trump is now up 6 in Wisconsin. And this includes, by the way, the third-party candidates, RFK, Jill Stein, and Cornel West.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So he's up 6 in Wisconsin on Biden. He's up 5 in Nevada. He's up 7 in Georgia. He's up 4 in Michigan.
Wow.
He's up 11 in North Carolina. He's up 3 in Arizona. He's up 1 in Pennsylvania. So... yeah. Additionally, just an additional survey, Rasmussen. The latest Rasmussen poll, Trump now leads Biden by 10 points nationally, head-to-head, 48-38.
And I'm sorry, are these likely voters or registered voters? Because you like registered voters being polled more. So,
I like likely voters
likely
being polled more accurate as opposed to registered. It's a good question, and I think most of the polling I've seen lately has been registered voters. So, of course, that tends to not be as accurate because it's likely voters who show up, not the wide swath of registered voters, and sometimes the composition of likely is a little bit different than the composition of registered. Often it is, in fact. But anyway, but it still gives you, once you're outside the margin of error, and Trump is, not in every swing state, but certainly a 10-point advantage nationally in the Rasmussen poll, and in some of the swing states he is. So I just, the Iowa polling, too, has him up anywhere from what I've seen, like 27 to 31 or 32 on DeSantis in second place and Haley not far behind him. So for all the talk of DeSantis's ground game and Haley's surge, it's not yet bearing out in the polling, really. Now, I know the DeSantis supporters will argue, well, you're not going to see a ground game necessarily register in polling. But yes, you can, crest just at the right time as you're putting it all together, driving towards caucus day. And I would say that that's the advantage of the ground game that DeSantis ostensibly has. I'll just concede the point that he does. That is worth something. There's no question. But it's not worth 20 points. It's not worth 25 points. It's not worth 30 points. It's worth a few points. And so and by the way, as you get closer, some of it should start to register because you've identified supporters. You've probably turned some people your way, and now it's just a matter of making sure you get them out to the caucus sites to cast their votes. I'm not seeing it. I'm really not feeling it. It all sounds really sort of manufactured based on a moment on a cable news show or, the postmortems that we all do on the debates. But again, maybe a higher percentage of Iowa caucus goers and New Hampshire primary voters are watching those debates than in some of the other states. But it's still a relatively small fraction of those electorates.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on our text line all morning long at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
There's something else, too. I mean, the news just sort of continues to favor Trump. And you can call it vengeance, vindication, whatever you want. But this Rasmussen and Heartland Institute survey, our friends at Heartland Institute, the Bass, and then, of course, Rasmussen. More than 1 in 5 voters who submitted ballots by mail say they did so fraudulently. The survey asked those who voted by mail in 2020 if they filled out a ballot, quote, in part or in full on behalf of a friend or family member, such as a spouse or a child, to which 21% said they had done so. Now, many states allow voters to receive assistance while voting, but filling out ballots on behalf of another person is illegal across the country. Right. So, again, this is a survey, so it's a representative sample of those who voted by mail, and it's anonymous, so they're not being rounded up for prosecution. I don't even know even if they went to the authorities and confessed. There's probably statute of limitations problems. But regardless, that's not the point. The point is to say that when you have indiscriminate mailing out of ballots and no oversight, people, even innocently, even if it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the particular votes from that household, innocently will do things that are against the law, and there's a good reason they're against the law. And it speaks to the declining confidence in the integrity of elections, which is a bad development, I think everyone concedes. 17%, the same Rasmussen Heartland Institute survey, 17% of mail-in voters in the 2020 election said they cast a ballot in a state where they were no longer a permanent resident, which is a violation of federal election law. Mm-hmm. Another 17% of mail-in voters said they signed a ballot on behalf of someone else, which is also a violation of election law.
I couldn't sleep at night if I did that. So wrong.
And again,
I don't understand people. We don't have a fair election. We don't have a country.
Well, even if you take it, that this was innocently done, was ignorantly done, didn't know. It's that this is the point of having some guardrails on the administration of elections, because there are people that will do things like this in a way that is not innocent, and it is not rooted in ignorance. It's rooted in purposeful manipulation. And if they see the system provides for this sort of profligacy, then they may just take advantage of it. It's relevant conversation. Yeah. Another 10% of voters in the survey said they know someone who admitted to casting a ballot in a state where they're not a permanent resident. So, again, this doesn't overturn the 2020 election. We don't know if it would have changed the outcome or anything like that. But we do know that when 43% of the country votes by mail in a national election, that you're opening yourself up for all sorts of instances of the integrity of the election being compromised, and that
The system's
ostensibly
vulnerable.
Well, right, and that's not a good thing, right? Do we all agree that's not a good thing? I'm talking, sort of in absentia to the left. That these numbers, I mean, you can just dismiss them out of hand if you want, but these numbers do not concern if any of you on the left.
We have to eliminate early voting. I mean, they're going to probably start having early voting in January, right? I mean, what was it, 3-6 months now? Start voting now. You can vote on the weekends. That's how it started. Vote on the weekends, and then this, and then this, and now mail-in ballots.
No, I mean, as soon as the filing deadline as soon as the filing deadlines are come and gone, then why don't you just start voting? Vote for a year.
Oh, yeah. That's probably what it's going to turn to. And I still can't wrap my head around that 81 million people voted for Joe Biden. He didn't even go out and campaign. I mean, when he did those goofy little car rallies, remember, where people sat in their cars and honked their horns?
Tom in Blue Island.
The most secure election in the history of our country. If you don't believe it or say anything in opposition to that, you're an election denier. January 6th was an insurrection. Trump was elected by Putin. How many can the AM 560 morning team answer? There's probably another 20 or 30. And then if anyone questions what happened on January 6th, if it was set up by the inside of the deep state, then you're, I don't even know what the term for us are.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Well, interesting you bring that up because we talked yesterday about Vivek Ramaswamy's exchange with Abby Phillip on the CNN town hall they hosted for him, where he was trying to explain the reference he made to January 6th and what he believed when he was in the private sector versus what he believes about what happened after 3 years has transpired and all this information has come out and everything. And his greater involvement in politics has made him more aware of some of the concerns, questions, curious conduct, stonewalling from the FBI. Tariq Johnson is a former lieutenant with the U.S. Capitol Police. And by the way, right, CNN's Abby Phillip, she had to try to squelch his comments as much as possible, even though he's the candidate, to recite the party line and to do basically what Tom from Blue Island was saying is, you have no evidence of this, you have no evidence of that, despite the fact that we're completely incurious, we're just going to repeat these lines, and we have made our decision on January 6th, and there's no amount of evidence that will change our standard lines because this is the commitment we made to the characterization of that event and in furtherance of Biden's reelection. Tariq Johnson, a retired lieutenant with Capitol Police. He writes, Vivek Ramaswamy got a lot right in this interview. I've been saying publicly for a year that J6 was not an insurrection, but not many people would listen. Ironically so, no one would benefit more than if J6 was an insurrection than I, as I was the commander that ordered and led the evacuations of the Senate and the House during the J6 breach, after begging former Assistant Chief Yoganand Pittman for permission to do so as she sat comfortably in the command center watching the events unfold on CCTV, while Chief Stephen Sun was obtaining National Guard approval and getting assistance from local law enforcement agencies. Pittman, at the command center, the assistant chief, flat out ignored me, so I was forced to forge ahead with the evacuations without obtaining approval from her. 3 days later, I decided to call Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont to report Pittman's malfeasance. And approximately an hour after I got off the phone with the senator, I was contacted by the United States Capitol Police Internal Affairs Section and informed I was suspended. The suspension lasted for 17 months, and I was under a gag order not to speak about the events of Jan 6 to the media until I separated from the department. I was also required to remain in my house Monday through Friday from the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and unable to step off my property without notifying Capitol Police for fear of being disciplined up to and including termination during those 17 months. Those are some of many facts Capitol Police Chief Thomas Manger, who is arguably the most corrupt politician in the country, was brought in to cover up. He replaced Sund. If presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy would like more facts to dispute the insurrection narrative, I will inbox his designated representative my personal phone number. Tariq Johnson, former lieutenant, U.S. Capitol Police. No questions, though. Nobody is curious. We had the J6 Star Chamber, and they concluded what they concluded prior to, and then they went about bootstrapping the conclusion that they brought to the committee hearings. And that's the official story. And we will hear nothing else. Jim in Sheboygan.
Yeah, on your earlier segment, you were talking about the polls in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Trump being in a big lead. The question I have is, can we believe the polls? We know in the last two presidential elections, the polls were horribly wrong.
No, that's not true. I mean, it's not true. Some were off, some were not. Some were off by the margin of error. Many were not. And no polling, and especially from these polling agencies we're citing, which are reputable polling outfits like Rasmussen. You've gotten some things wrong, but a lot of things right. Again, within the margin of error. These are snapshots in time. I can't. Somebody can correct the record. If somebody can find me a poll from a legitimate polling organization that was off by 30 points. No chance.
Text message, Dan and Amy, fair elections. If the government can put a serial number on every piece of paper currency, they can put a serial number on every ballot.
Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
I want Christmas. Just give me plain baby Jesus lying in a manger. Christmas.
On AM 560, The Answer.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I feel the energy level of 27. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
My name is Barbara, and I'm a registered nurse, and I take Balance of Nature. I really love gardening. I love being outdoors, and I love watching things grow. Gardening is just kind of an extension of enjoying nature. You get the sunlight, you get the breeze, you listen to the birds. It's the whole thing. I believe in Balance of Nature, and I really love it.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code Chicago.
All right, Christmas is 10 days away, and how about making a donation on behalf of your well-fed child or grandchild? Yes, people do that. We're asking for a gift of $80. With that, you could feed 2 children for 1 year. Think about that. Or a gift of $320. You can feed 8 children for 1 year. And the impact your gift can have can help so many who really struggle every day on where to get food. And that's why we're partnering with Food for the Poor once again, because they're a faith-based nonprofit relief organization. They work directly with partners on the ground in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Haiti to operate feeding centers. So we've seen their good work firsthand, and any amount would be much appreciated. The number to call, 844-862-4673, 844-862-4673, or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Also, we have the Business Benefactor Program, which we rely on to meet our goals for the Food for the Poor holiday campaign. We need business leadership, and we're appreciative of the businesses who have signed up for the Business Benefactor Program, like our friend John Cass at johncassnews.com, Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, Earthworks, Augustino's Rock and Roll Deli, Napleton Mazda of Naperville, MS Consulting, Marshall Pearson Company Fine Jewelry, Second Option Health Solutions, and so many more. To join these enlightened businesses and business owners and follow their lead. Well, I'm having problems.
Do you want me to find Ann Jeanette? Well, you got to call Ann Jeanette.
Yeah, there we go.
And her number is 847-472-8951. Again, 847-472-8951. It is the best deal in all of Chicagoland radio. We're signing up my dentist today, Dan. Very exciting. Dr.
Very good.
Fabia.
Living up to his commitment.
Yeah, because this will sell out. It sells out every year, so do it today, 847-472-8951. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, switching to MediShare saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. And what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the member satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of more than 400,000 members. And here's the thing. If you join before December 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, you'll get another 10% off all of 2024. That's 12 months of savings. So I'll give you the number here in a second, but call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline's December 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE. 844-47-BIBLE.
All right, after you donate to Food for the Poor, make your way on over to pajamagram.com. There's lots of items to get your significant other for the holiday season. Women, you can go over there too because you can get your men some pajamas. But what's hot right now is that Smooth Seduction satin nighty robe. Plus, they'll kick in a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. You heard that right. 4 gifts delivered right to your door, ready to go under the tree. It's silky, it's sensuous, it's amazing, and it will drive you wild. But don't wait. It will sell out. So go to pajamagram.com and be sure to tell them that Dan and Amy sent you.
Author, psychologist, and professor Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is coming to the Chicago Theater on February 12th with his highly anticipated We Who Wrestle with God tour. The best-selling author of 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order has sold out more than 400 venues, and his online programs have helped tens of thousands of people. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
I got a message, Amy. It's a dental throwdown now.
Uh-oh.
Not to be outdone by Joe Favia, I will be signing up next week. That's my dentist, Phil Fidgel. So we're getting dentist leadership on our Food for the Poor campaign. So there you go.
Good.
If you're a dentist, you want to keep up with Joe Favia and Phil Fidgel, so you want to sign up for our business benefactor program for Food for the Poor.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, we'll be joined by Roger Kimball from the New Criterion to talk a little bit more POTUS politics with 30 days before the Iowa caucus to go, 6:36.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom, check in with Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy at 6:30. Here are the stories we're following this morning. A ballistic missile fired from rebel-held territory in Yemen struck a Liberian-flagged cargo ship in the Red Sea, setting that vessel ablaze. We're also hearing, according to the Associated Press, that U.S. officials are confirming a second cargo ship has been struck by a missile as well. A top U.S. envoy says the U.S. agrees with Israel the fight against Hamas terrorists will take months, but that officials are trying to discuss a timetable for scaling back from high-intensity combat. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
I will visit Ramallah to meet with President Abbas and discuss ongoing efforts to promote stability in the West Bank, including through efforts to confront terrorism, to support the Palestinian Authority security forces through the U.S. Security Coordinator for Israel and the Palestinian Authority.
Israeli airstrikes and tank shelling continued overnight. Prosecutors in Denmark say authorities are holding 2 in custody and 4 others are the target of a terror probe. One suspect has been detained in the Netherlands. The Senate is approving back pay for senior military officials who had their promotions held up by Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville over pro-life legislation. The bill passed unanimously Thursday, but still requires House approval. A Wisconsin milling company has agreed to pay an additional $1.8 million in penalties after a fatal 2017 corn dust explosion. The settlement with OSHA investigators comes on top of the more than $11 million that Didion Milling agreed to pay in September. We're hearing this morning from Indianapolis that 2-time ABA champion and 3-time NBA All-Star George McGinnis has died. He was 73. Considered one of the best prep players, maybe the best ever to play in the basketball-rich state of Indiana, McGinnis became one of the first underclassmen to play pro basketball, joining the Indiana Pacers in 1971. He also played for the 76ers and the Denver Nuggets. A shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway left a tow truck driver in serious condition this morning. 3 people were injured in a house fire in Glendale Heights on Thursday night. The Glendale Heights fire chief saying the blaze broke out around 10 p.m. in the 1400 block of Divine Drive. A body found in the trunk of a burning car in the Bridgeport neighborhood this morning. Chicago police report firefighters put out the vehicle fire. A victim was found unresponsive in the trunk and pronounced dead at the scene. North Central College looks to win back-to-back national titles and a 30th straight game in their Stag Bowl clash tonight against Cortland State in Salem, Virginia. Junior quarterback Luke Lanin says last week's come-from-behind win over Wartburg was a wake-up call for the Naperville school.
I think after that drive, first play came out, 50 or so yard pass, really showed us, okay, yeah, like we're still the North Central Cardinals that we normally are. We just have to believe it.
The Cardinals are seeking their 3rd Division III crown in 4 seasons. They haven't lost since the 2021 Stag Bowl. They'll take on SUNY Cortland tonight. Bulls snap a 2-game losing skid with a 124-116 victory over the Heat in Miami. Blackhawks lost to Seattle 7-1. 6:33 is our time. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains how to win in 2024.
When you see a smaller and smaller radical group of people make decisions that harm the welfare of your nation, you are willing to pursue other political choices. No more despair. Let's get to work. I hear all the time, but Charlie, they're going to steal it and they're going to stop it. Get to work.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
It's really important that we take care of ourselves for our sake and the sake of our family. Taking Balance of Nature, I just feel better.
I'm active. My wife and I go to the gym 7 days a week. If the weather's nice like a day like this, I ride my bike. I've been taking Balance of Nature for the past 20 years. I won't give it up.
I take Balance of Nature because it makes me feel great. I really thought that they paid people to say that stuff. And then I tried it. I was surprised. Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
It is 6:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Boost Infinite and their new wireless technology that gives you 3 networks for the price of 1 and better service. That's boostinfinite.com. Boost. Edens and Kennedy are off on time. The Ike is not. Jammed up from Austin to Costner due to an accident on the right shoulder. There also may be a pedestrian involved. The investigation continues. 35 minutes in climbing into the old post office. Northbound I-55. This is Will County. Northbound between Weber and Route 53, an accident with a right lane blocked. I-80 remains solid on the westbound side between the Tri-State and I-57 due to an overturned semi. 2 left lanes blocked. The right lane is open. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Increasing clouds, high of 51, mild and cloudy, 38 overnight. 36 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance tweeted out yesterday, the endowments at Penn, Harvard, and MIT have a combined $95 billion plus in assets, yet only pay a 1.4% tax rate on net investment income. Then they use these funds to push DEI and woke insanity. He then went to the Senate floor to offer some speechifying in advance of his legislation that would tax the largest college endowments 35%.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to speak to a particular problem in America's higher education system, a problem born of unfairness and of mass subsidy from the American taxpayer that is now metastasized into one of the most corrupt and one of the most politically active and politically hostile organizations in the United States of America, and that is elite colleges. A lot of us have watched, not just since the October 7th attacks on Israel, but for over a decade, as America's colleges seem less and less interested in education and more interested in teaching things like racial hatred and various forms of far-left ideology. And a lot of us have asked ourselves, how is this possible? How is it that universities that should be responsive to the public will, responsive to their donors and alumni, responsive to their students, how is it that they can go so far, so fast without any pushback? And the answer, my fellow Americans, Mr. President, is university endowments, which have grown incredibly large on the backs of subsidies from the taxpayers, and they have made these universities completely independent of any political, financial, or other pressure, and that is why the university system in this country has gone so insane. At just 3 universities, Mr. President, Harvard, MIT, and Penn, the endowments are approaching $100 billion. That is as large as some of the largest hedge funds in America. In fact, Harvard, Penn, Yale, many of our Ivy League institutions and others beyond that are little more than hedge funds with universities attached to them as pretend. This must stop. It must stop because it has enabled political insanity. It must stop because it has burdened an entire generation of Americans with over $1 trillion of student debt. Student debt relief that many of my friends on the other side would like plumbers in Ohio to pay for, but I think if the universities caused the problem, Mr. President, they ought to pay for it. And if they paid for it, if they didn't have these massive endowments subsidized by taxpayers, then maybe they would be a little bit more responsive to the public will in the process. I have advanced legislation that would do something very simple. Take the hundreds of billions of dollars in large university endowments, not even all university endowments, just the largest university endowments, and apply a tax to them.
Is this a good idea, or is this dangerous precedent setting for the purposes of being punitive against bad actors in places like the Ivy League, the West Coast, my alma mater, Northwestern? You know, don't forget, J.D. Vance is a Yale man.
Oh, yeah.
Yale and Yale Law School, too. And so is our next guest. Roger Kimball went to Yale. He's also the editor of the New Criterion. Roger, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
So what do you think about Senator Vance's idea? And also, too, I mean, I need to see the details, but the idea of taxing only large endowments and not smaller endowments and what those cutoffs would be, I mean, that could be problematic. But anyway, the gist of the idea, you know, sort of the principle behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, judgment is always called for in these situations, and you have to exercise a little good judgment. But I mean, the fact is that as JD said, the size of these endowments renders these institutions essentially unaccountable. They're, you know, they're not responsible to anyone except their own self-engorging, progressive left-wing greed. So, you know, Peter Thiel some years ago had the idea of, you know, you pick the number, $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever. You pick some number, or maybe it should be calibrated some relation between the student body, size of the student body, and the size of the endowment. And anything over that number, they would be required to, Peter's idea was 10% a year to some other charitable organization. So Harvard's always going on and on about DEI and, you know, how concerned they are with you know, the underclass and so on. So why don't they take, you know, 10% of their $50 billion endowment and give it to, say, Howard University? Of course, you know, they wouldn't do that voluntarily, but something like that would be a very good idea. I think that you in our society, you want these institutions to be part of the democratic process, which means accountable. And the same thing, by the way, is true of all of this alphabet soup of government, quasi-government agencies that basically runs our lives. Congress.
Well, to that. Sorry to interrupt, but to that point, would it be a more palatable and more on point proposal to say, instead of proposing a tax on the endowments and getting into the business of taxing charitable contributions and charitable and nonprofit organizations, we're going to get the federal government out about, he mentioned subsidizing. We'll get the federal government out of the subsidizing business rather than subsidizing than taxing. Get the federal government out of the student loan business altogether.
That's a very good idea. The government should not be. I mean, the first thing that should happen is the Department of Education should be abolished, along with about 30 or 40 other government agencies, and probably the 16th Amendment should be rescinded. That's the one that made the income tax legal. But these are bold proposals. But after all, we're supposed to be a young experimental country. Why don't we do something young and experimental for a change, rather than be part of this leviathan of yesterday's thinking. I admire JD. I think he's great, and the idea of imposing a tax on the universities will send a a frisson down the spines of the
Yes.
presidents at those universities. But probably at the end of the day, what we want to do is think of a way of making the universities do what they're supposed to do. Why do we make them tax exempt? Why do we give them all of these societal privileges? The professors are treated with great respect and so on. Why is that? Well, because we thought that these educational institutions were there. They exist to preserve and transmit the highest values of our civilization. But what if they don't do that anymore? What if, like so many institutions in our country, they instead of doing what they were originally intended to do, they do the opposite. And they now, instead of being dedicated to preserving and transmitting the highest values of our civilization, they're dedicated to tearing them down, to deconstructing them, to undermining the values of Western civilization by this insane menu of so-called progressive causes, everything from DEI to the whole transsexual thing. And this recent example of people asking the presidents of these most elite universities, well, would it contravene the rules at Harvard to call for the genocide of Jews? I mean, as Elise Stefanik said, this is an easy question to answer, right? But these moral pygmies who are running these institutions are just kind of they're kind of caught up in this net of progressive insanity, and they can't answer these simple questions.
They're not the only ones. Going to the Republican side of the aisle, the passage of the National Defense Authorization supplemental funding with a extension of Section 702 of FISA for 4 months, warrantless searches, and also, basically kicking the can on any restrictions on the armed services with respect to abortion provision or provision of services for gender identity surgeries and care and the like.
Right.
So, it speaks to sort of what a lot of us were saying when Kevin McCarthy was deposed. You don't have an appreciation for the caucus he's dealing with, but it also speaks to what our expectations should be, I guess, about Mike Johnson's leadership as Speaker, given the composition of the caucus.
Yeah, well, frankly, the Republicans are only a little bit better than the Democrats. I mean, there's some great people in Congress, but as a whole, they are all supping at the same trough. What we have done is create an agenda of dependency, and there's a great deal of incentive to keep things going. The question is, of course, how long can it go on? We have a $33 trillion federal debt. I mean, it's an eye-watering sum of money. Can it go on forever? Probably not. The economist Herb Stein once said that what can't go on forever won't. The question is, how is this going to unwind? Can we grow our way out of it? Some people think so. I don't know. It's a lot of money. And it's not just the debt; it's the kind of moral fiber behind it. I mean, the most basic distinctions seem to have been lost. I mean, we used to be able to say, okay, this person is male and this person is female. We can't even do that anymore. And once you kind of lose that basic, sense of a basic moral compass, everything is lost. And, at Harvard, if you misgender someone, if somebody says, "Oh, although I'm actually really a male, I want you to treat me as a female." If you misgender that person, you can be expelled. But it's okay to call for the obliteration of an entire religion. It's insane.
All right, Roger Kimball, we are almost 48 hours since Hunter Biden gave the middle finger to Congress. Why hasn't he been arrested yet for contempt of Congress?
Well, there's his subpoena. There are different kinds of subpoenas, as it were. I mean, he was not really obligated to show up before Congress, I believe, but he might be eventually, and he's a protected class. He's like the spotted owl or something. Why? Because he's the president's son. The people who think he's going to go to jail, that's insane. Unless what I actually believe is going on in the background is I think that the people who actually run the country are getting very nervous because it's been borne in upon them that Joe Biden cannot win the next election. And I would not be at all surprised to learn that the people who are actually pulling the strings are subtly or not so subtly suggesting to Joe that you find a way to back out, and we'll make sure these charges go away against your son.
Well,
that's what I think is going on.
Well, interesting thing there. Well, and I mean, by the way, I respectfully disagree with you that he wasn't compelled to show up. He was compelled to show up. That whole thing that Abby Lowell was saying, his defense attorney, the formal impeachment inquiry vote was necessary. No, it was not. The subpoena was issued by both House Oversight and Judiciary Committee. They have independent subpoena issuing authority. He was compelled to show up. He should be held in contempt of Congress. And Jonathan Turley over at George Washington Law School makes the additional point that there was this talk that Biden, the big guy Biden, was aware that a number one son was going to do this press conference, and so that potentially triggers an obstruction of justice claim against the big guy in an impeachment proceeding, depending on the exact nature of that conversation. So Hunter really put the big guy in a more of a bind, not less of one.
Turley says that he had to go, then he had to go. He's almost always right. So I've read elsewhere that that there was some ambiguity about it, but I'm happy to stand corrected on that. I mean, I would love to see him held to account. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, unless they're using this as a lever to get the big guy to step down. But of course, that's a problem too, because what if Joe Biden goes, then who becomes president? Are we going to accept Kamala Harris as president? I don't think so.
Roger Kimball, editor of the New Criterion. Roger, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
All right, if you have cold floors, the problem is probably in your basement or crawl space. And Permaseal can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer and therefore your upstairs more comfortable with their product, Permafoam Insulation. Permaseal can spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which not only increases your energy efficiency, but it also stops insects, rodents from getting into the house. Folks, it is mold and mildew resistant. So save money and be more comfortable. Call Permaseal today to schedule a free evaluation. 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-7325, or visit permaseal.net. Permaseal, known best for being better.
Hi, Dr. Ron Paul here. The Fed creates and pops bubbles using interest rate manipulation. Why put the value of your IRA or 401k at their mercy? This is why I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To get a free info kit from Birch Gold, text the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to 989898. Do it now and protect your savings.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
And this is Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. We wish you the very best this holiday season from Signature Bank, Chicago's business bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, here's one movie you can probably skip over if you're looking for movies to watch over the holidays. I think I recommended the Holdovers from Paul Giamatti's new movie. That was good. Leave the World Behind is an Team Obama-produced Netflix film. Finally making good on that $50 million deal they got.
Took years, but now they're here.
So this is all-star cast: Julia Roberts and company. Ethan Hawke, right?
I haven't seen him in a while, but then again, I don't watch a lot of movies. But I can't watch it because it's a scary movie, and I can't watch scary movies.
I don't know if it's like sort of like, end of the civilization type stuff, like a EMG attack or something, and powers out and so on.
A white couple ends up with a black couple in a cabin, and
yeah. And here's a clip that's circulating from that film, just in case you don't believe the audience reviews. Of course, the critic reviews, it's still like barely above mediocre, but the audience reviews, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, not particularly robust. Perhaps this is why.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Oh.
Even Mom would agree with me on that.
Uh-huh. Remember how
creating division, yes.
the Obamas were, there's no red, there's no blue, there's no black, they're white. He was going to bridge the racial divide and enhance the racial harmony in America. Uh-huh. Okay, sure.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we told you what happened. It's happening. The end of selective enrollment schools in CPS, 7:07.
I'm shocked. And then later, why, if you're fat, you get rewarded with a second seat on Southwest? I'm tall. Can I get a second seat? But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Mayor Johnson unveils his public safety plan. Chicago City Council votes against sanctuary city question, handing that to Chicago voters. Judge vacates convictions of two longtime convicts. A 14-year-old boy is wounded in a West Side shooting. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
It likely urged the U.S. to get Israel to stop the war. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, will meet today with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who was just in Israel for talks as the war keeps raging in Gaza. Sullivan is pressing them to do more to protect civilians while targeting Hamas.
Israel has the intent to make sure that it is drawing those distinctions clearly and in a sustainable way, and we want to see the results match up to that.
3 more hostages taken by Hamas in the October terror attack are confirmed dead. Sullivan says it makes it even harder on hostage relatives.
Their family members who are waiting hour by hour, day by day, to learn the fate of their loved ones, to know when they're going to come home, when they'll be able to embrace them again.
Iran-backed militants keep targeting cargo ships in the Middle East. Their missiles have missed some this week, but they hit 2 today.
A ballistic missile launched out of an area controlled by the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen hit a Swiss-owned container ship with Liberian flags in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which links the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Another ship also hit by a projectile. There were reports of fires on both. There's a Hamas-linked terror plot busted up in Germany, where prosecutors say 3 men were preparing to attack Jewish institutions with weapons. Hamas were going to leave for them underground. Unrelated to that, 2 people are in custody in Denmark on suspicion of plotting a terror attack. In Ohio, a teenager is accused of planning to attack a synagogue.
An unnamed 13-year-old boy is charged with inducing panic and disorderly conduct. The teen is accused of posting a detailed plan to complete a mass shooting at Temple Israel in Canton and then planning to stream the act on the platform Discord.
Fox's Tom Graham. A royal victory in court in Britain. A justice in the High Court ruled in Prince Harry's favor in a lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mirror newspaper, ruling the prince was victimized by phone hacking, widespread and habitual, awarding Harry $180,000. America's listening to Fox News.
36 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway this morning left a tow truck driver in serious condition. Illinois State Police tell us the shooting occurred in the inbound lanes of I-290 near California around 11 p.m. 3 are injured in a house fire overnight in Glendale Heights. Fire chief there says the blaze broke out around 10 p.m. in the 1400 block of Divine Drive. When crews arrived, police officers were helping victims get out. One was transported in serious condition. A body was found in the trunk of a burning car in the Bridgeport neighborhood this morning. Chicago police report firefighters put out the blaze. A victim was found unresponsive in the trunk, and the victim pronounced dead on the scene. Mayor Brandon Johnson unveiling his public safety plan for the city of Chicago.
That this approach will show results and deliver a safer Chicago for all of us, because it shares the responsibility of safety across the city. Not one person nor one entity can solve the decades of disinvestment. It is literally going to take all of us.
Nearly all workers in the state of Illinois will officially be guaranteed at least 1 week of paid leave in the new year. The plan was forced on business owners by Governor J.B. Pritzker and the city of Chicago, and now Board Chair Tony Preckwinkle says suburbs in Cook County will also have a new paid leave mandate. Many business owners now say they don't know how they're going to pay for it and will be slowing hiring and cutting jobs. Chicago School Board is considering ending selective enrollment. The board voting to approve a resolution to back neighborhood schools and move away, they say, from the school choice system, one of Mayor Johnson's campaign promises. Bears and Browns continue preparations for their battle in Cleveland on Sunday. Last night, Bulls beat the Heat 124-116. Blackhawks were waxed by the Kraken 7-1. 7:04 is our time. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager knows the Democrats' kryptonite.
The whole attack on Musk as being anti-Semitic or allowing hate on Twitter or now X is to shut him down, because the left always suppresses free speech. There's no example of the left being in power, whether in a country or at an institution, and not shutting down dissent.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Immerse yourself in premium nationwide coverage, contract-free plans, and always-free activation with Consumer Cellular, now at your local Target. While you're there, check out our newest phone, the Iris Flip. It's all the phone and camera you need, plus it features a user-friendly design, making it the perfect flip phone. From now to December 16th, you can score $10 off when you buy the Consumer Cellular Iris Flip at Target, making it only $39.99. Visit your nearest Target for the full scoop.
Testosterone levels are at an all-time low. Individual T levels decline 1% every year. CHOQ, CHOQ, is the new champion of natural testosterone boosters. Chock's main ingredient is clinically studied to naturally boost testosterone 20% in 90 days. Supercharge your masculinity and boost your daily energy with Chock's Male Vitality Stack. For a limited time, our listeners will get 30% off at CHOQ.com with promo code USA. CHOQ.com, code USA.
Cooler weather is here. Is your vehicle ready for the winter? Remke's Garage, your diesel engine and transmission specialist, can inspect your vehicle so you won't end up on the side of the road. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's Garage is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. When was the last time you changed your filters, checked your batteries, inspected your tires, belts and hoses, or flushed your coolant? Be prepared. Bring your Mercedes Sprinter, Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, or Isuzu diesel truck to Remke's Garage and have your tires inspected as well. Ask about the Fleetworthy commercial-grade Toyo Celsius Cargo all-weather tire. The premier tire to accommodate the rainy, icy, snowy, and cold weather we encounter here in the Chicagoland area. Don't get stuck. Remke's Garage is your diesel and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit remkesgarage.com. That's REMKES garage.com and schedule your inspection today.
36 degrees at 7:06. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And right now, the Kennedy on the inbound side is at 25 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're seeing delays on the Ike inbound due to an accident. Right now, it's parked on the right-hand shoulder between First Avenue and Costner. There's a big delay this morning. I-55 accident, right lane blocked. It's on the northbound side of 55 between Weber and Route 53. And right now, as you travel on the Reagan, you're seeing stop-and-go traffic on I-88 eastbound between Roosevelt and the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, increasing cloudiness, mild day, high 51, cloudy tonight, low 38. Periods of rain and drizzle from late morning tomorrow, the high 44. A morning shower Sunday, otherwise cloudy, the high at 46. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
36 and mostly cloudy at O'Hare. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You've heard Mike Scott reporting it. Just as we told you would happen when BLM Brandon was elected, so way back in the spring, not only was the tax credit scholarship program going to go away, and it has, that's at the statewide level, but the next order of business when it came to K through 12 was to stamp out the selective enrollment schools in Chicago, and that's exactly what is now happening. 11 selective enrollment high schools out of 168 in CPS. So 6%. But just like you cannot tolerate 30,000 kids on scholarship to get access to better schools statewide, CTU can't tolerate that. They can't tolerate 6% of CPS students in selective enrollment schools either. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text
Yeah,
line.
Elizabeth Todd Breland, Vice President of the Board of Education, explained it yesterday.
We want to ensure that there are strong pathways from pre-K to high school in neighborhood schools in every neighborhood, prioritizing neighborhoods facing historic and ongoing disinvestment.
I have to tell you, this system, though, has pitted schools and students against each other since the beginning. I mean, as somebody, my kids didn't get into selective enrollment high schools. It's harder to get into a selective enrollment high school than it is to get into an Ivy League school. And so the fact that it's gone away, just personally, I'm brimming. I'm in shock. I have to tell you, I can't believe it. I won't believe it till I see it. And they said it's going to be a 5-year process for it to happen, and they'll have more details in the summer how it's going to work. But Phew, that's going to change a lot of schools. Lakeview's going to completely change because if all the kids from Blaine have to go to Lakeview High School, ooh, that school's going to change for the better, I think.
Well, you're surprised. You're surprised that the Chicago Teachers Union would be opposed to any expression of competition within a K through 12 school system. They oppose charter schools. They oppose tax credit scholarships. They oppose selective enrollment schools. Why are you surprised?
Because the CTU teachers who are at these selective enrollment schools think they're superstars. The coaches think that they're superstars. You know, like, oh, I'm at Whitney Young or I'm at Peyton. Oh, you should bow to me. So I'm surprised that
they represent 6%.
Yeah.
And to the extent that anything grows, it needs to be stamped out immediately. That's what communists do. You are to enjoy things equally, mostly misery and mediocrity at best. So what's actually going to happen is those schools aren't going to get better. The schools that the kids who got into the selective enrollment schools that have to go to by address, they're going to get better. Most of the parents are going to exercise choice, whether that choice is to move or that choice is to go to private school. But they're not going to send their kids to the neighborhood schools that have, most of which have a generations-long track record of abject failure. So what's going to happen is the school system is going to get worse. It's going to be more of the haves fleeing and the have-nots staying and getting subpar access to opportunity, all the while listening to the political ruling class like you just played from that apparatchik on the school, in the apparatchik school board member, administrator, whatever. Like it matters. I think there's any difference. Talking about disinvestment. The same thing you heard BLM Brandon talking about rolling out his, Communist Party public safety plan yesterday, talking about the people's plan for this and the disinvestment here. And we're targeting the disinvested neighborhoods. And then you hear the same thing for schools. I mean, CPS is a criminal organization. It's a criminal conspiracy to deprive kids of the possibility of earning a quality education. It has been for as long as I've been on the planet. And this only ensures that it will continue to be as far as the eye can see.
Oh, there's no doubt that Whitney Young, Peyton, Lane Tech, they're all going to go down. I mean, in testing and obviously with sports because they recruit because they can. It's a game changer. It is, and not for the better.
What you were talking about, the demand for the selective enrollment schools vastly outstrip the supply. Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's the point. The point is more choice, not less. You don't improve something by removing competition. You improve it by opening up competition. Thousand flowers bloom. But that's not the philosophy of CPS, CTU, obviously. It's not the philosophy of the political ruling class in the city, the county, the state. And so this is what you're going to get. All the while they tell you about how root causes when it comes to reducing the incidence of violent crime, root causes, education. We got to invest where there's been disinvestment and so on and so forth. Oh my gosh, the average CPS school is spending $30,000 per pupil per year.
For what?
What's the magic number, by the way? And for what?
Right. What are we getting? I mean,
are
you kidding me?
You're getting a phony 87% graduation rate and phony 99% of teachers proficient, while a fifth of the kids can read at grade level and a sixth can do math at grade level. And by the way, for a small percentage that get out of CPS and maybe think they're prepared to do post-secondary work, meaning go to college, the 4-year fallacy. CPS students struggle to graduate from college in less than 6 years, according to a University of Chicago study. Just 30% of Chicago public school grads in the study who immediately went to bachelor's degree granting universities graduated in 4 years. So probably less than 1 in 3 are going to college. And of those going to college, less than 1 in 3 are getting out in 4 years. Why? Because they have to spend, I I'm going to hazard a guess that's a pretty informed one, they have to spend the first year on remediation, maybe longer than that, because they did come out of CPS, most of them, prepared to do coursework at any place other than perhaps Chicago State. By the way, interestingly, Chicago State, since Chicago State was in the news, a college in quotation marks that should have been closed long ago. It's a joke. It's just it's like a CPS school. It's an institution that's about having sinecures for a bunch of phony academics. It's not about educating kids. It's not about preparing them for the workforce or a career in their desired discipline. It's a joke. Chicago
and yet
State
they still beat Northwestern in basketball.
Well, yeah. So they're in the news for beating Northwestern, right. And I don't think Craig Hodges suited up. So they got another kid that scored 30 at Northwestern. But regardless, you look at the reporting in CP. I mean, we did reporting on Chicago State at the newspapers I'm affiliated with years ago. The graduation rate in 6 years is under 10%.
Really?
No, it's a joke. The whole thing is a fraud. First, you're frauding the taxpayers statewide because CPS gets a majority of its funding from the state, and you're frauding the kids, worst of all, and the families. And the response is more of the same. And the reaction will be, finally, we're getting more money, so that's going to be better for my kids. No, it's not. It's not. And nobody has the guts to tell them. And frankly, they don't have the requisite interest to connect any dots, because this is another story that's been playing out for as long as I've been on the planet. So we're talking about several generations now, moms and dads in CPS and their moms and dads, the kids that are out. I mean, does anybody put these puzzle pieces together? Could it be more obvious? Could the evidence be more overwhelming? And this sort of nebulous boogeyman of disinvestment or systemic racism, right? Okay, and that's what you want to buy. Your kids and their kids and their kids, second-class citizen status for life, because they cannot compete in the real world where you have to at least be able to read and do rudimentary math. Sorry. Unbelievable, but believable. Ron, Southside.
Oh man, you hitting it there. Look here, that word investment, and they're really using it in the wrong manner. What they keep talking about is money. Yeah, you're right. It's disinvestment, because typically when you spend resources, you're looking for a positive return. We have not gotten that in the school system. He used it talking about public safety. But see, if it was real investment, we'd have competition, and all these programs that are costing taxpayers money would be gone. So that garbage about disinvestment. But then you're right. The people that I was fortunate, I sent my son to Mount Carmel. He's out of this hellhole and raising his family and doing well. But the rest of the folks that they keep voting for this, and their children, and they cannot afford their children, I sacrifice for my child. But for the rest of them, just like you were talking about the people in Tinley Park with the tax situation, you know what? You voted for this guy. And guess what? You're going to continue to get this garbage. Brandon Johnson is just crap to me, man. Thanks, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, Ron. Well, I'll tell you what, too. You know, for all the talk from these new Marxists about the school to jail pipeline and so on and so forth, well, they're the ones feeding it. They're the ones that feed that pipeline. And then their response to the pipeline is to elect prosecutors to say, okay, we're not going to send anybody to jail. We're not going to arrest people. We're not going to send them to jail. We'll have alternative sentencing and the judges, too. But that's their response. But they're the ones that are sending these kids into the meat grinder, into the street. It's tragic, really.
Well, they got rid of Grow Community this year, so I shouldn't be surprised. And Grow Community was something that Pastor Bonnie started. She's now the bishop in Michigan for the Episcopal Church, but saying that if you go to certain middle schools, you can choose between Amundsen or Lakeview. You don't have to go to Lakeview, but there's a choice. So that ended. And so a lot of people are forced to go to their neighborhood school, and a lot of people don't want to do it, so they move.
Steve, Naples.
Morning, Dan and Amy. Well, Amy, you just hit it right on the head right there. People are just going to move. It's another destruction of the tax base. Going back on your conversation earlier, Amy, Lade Tech was a magnet school from the beginning of time that had been around forever. Mather, where I lived near when I grew up, that place went to garbage before all these selected enrollment schools opened up. So it really has nothing to do with whether you have select enrollment or not. The schools are just going to go bad, and people are just going to leave. And so you've destroyed the tax base with the violence downtown. You've destroyed the commercial area. Now you're going out to the neighborhoods and you're chasing people out. It's just another death knell for the city, because there is no way out when people see no education for their kids, and they're not going to put up with it.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Well, it's the plan to make Chicago Detroit.
Well, yeah.
Being executed flawlessly.
Who's going to go to Jones Prep? Now a lot of people live around Jones Prep. It's mostly businesses, so I'm sure they'll find kids.
Alexis in Mount Prospect.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Yeah, this change the kids in the families who are carrying this district are just going to leave. The teachers that I work with who are younger, starting their families, as soon as this dropped, they've already started talking about, well, I can't send my kid to my neighborhood school. They're already figuring out how to leave the city. So they're going to take.
You're a CPS teacher?
I am, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us where you work?
I can. I teach at Rheinberg Elementary.
Okay. And what's your neighborhood high school over there?
The neighborhood high schools, there are Foreman and Schurz. A couple of our teachers live in the Roosevelt High School area, and they're not interested in sending their very young kids as they get older to, they were hoping for the options. And of course, the union killed the Invest in Kids Act as well.
Right.
And so now they don't have the extra financial support if they want to go to, for example, Ignatius, which is really expensive, St. Pat's or anything else like that. So, yeah, it's as the previous caller said, this is the death knell for the city of Chicago. They're getting exactly what they want.
What percentage of your colleagues do you think, just even at your school, send their kids to private school?
A few a few of them, not many, but most of our teachers who have high school age kids, their kids end up getting into Lane Tech or Whitney or North Side.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, because they have the family support for it. Our students, the elementary school students, if they usually bring their kids to our school. Our school does okay. So when they have kids who are K to 8, they bring their kids to us because they have that option as being teachers at our school.
Thanks for the call, Alexis. David LaGrange.
Dan, I think it might have been you a couple of years ago that read a study regarding Chicago State where they have degree programs that nobody has ever graduated from.
Yeah.
Never had one graduate.
Really?
But they got the program.
Yeah. Right. It's just a patronage dumping ground is what it is. That's what it's always been. Back when Emil Jones was Senate President, he would drop ship cash to Chicago State to keep up appearances. But that's, like I said, that's so many institutions in Chicago, so many schools from the elementary to the collegiate level. This strike that's going on at Columbia, with all due respect, you think that's a school? You think that's a college? Come on. Can we get real here? I'm not to go full Dr. Phil, but honestly.
And Chicago State's recruiting because they're D1 and they want to start a football program this year. So they are. Well, that's because they had a representative come out and talk to kids.
Oh,
okay.
Right. Sure, exactly. Triple down.
Hey.
What was the line from General Honore during Katrina? Stuck on stupid. That should be. But it should be on all the brochures coming out of BLM Brandon's fifth floor office. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Author, psychologist, and professor Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is coming to the Chicago Theater on February 12th with his highly anticipated We Who Wrestle with God tour. The best-selling author of 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order has sold out more than 400 venues, and his online programs have helped tens of thousands of people. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com.
Napleton Mazda of Naperville would like to invite you to come in for a test drive during the Season of Inspiration event going on now through the end of the month. Take advantage of remarkable savings like 0% APR financing for 60 months on a brand new 2024 Mazda CX-5. Save on over 700 new Mazdas at Napleton Mazda of Naperville and napervillemazda.com. Offer to qualified buyers through Mazda Financial Services. 0% APR equals $16.67 per $1,000 financed. Expires 12/31/23.
10 days away. That's all the time you have, gentlemen, to get your loved one a pajamagram at pajamagram.com. You can even get your pet. You can get matching family pajamas when you open up those gifts on Christmas morning. They have it all at pajamagram.com, but may I suggest for you the Smooth Seduction Satin nighty robe plus a free satin eye mask, all wrapped in an elegant satin keepsake bag. Justin's getting one for his lady. We're waiting for that to come in. But go to pajamagram.com to order yours today. It does sell out every year. Do it sooner rather than later. Pajamagram.com and tell them Dan and Amy sent you. Yes.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I feel the energy level of 27. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
My name is Barbara, and I'm a registered nurse, and I take Balance of Nature. I really love gardening. I love being outdoors, and I love watching things grow. Gardening is just kind of an extension of enjoying nature. You get the sunlight, you get the breeze, you listen to the birds. It's the whole thing. I believe in Balance of Nature, and I really love it.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, it's Fat Pride Week here on AM 560. And so we want to congratulate Southwest Airlines for their new seating policy for the Zoftig set, and that is complimentary extra seats, 1 or 2 as needed, for those that are more Rubenesque. 7:37.
Anybody feel discriminated against? We'll take your phone calls, 312-642-5600. But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Dan and Amy, 35 degrees, sunshine now, clouds on the way, and we're watching developments in the Middle East where a ballistic missile fired from rebel-held territory in Yemen struck a Liberian flag cargo ship in the Red Sea, setting the vessel ablaze. And the Associated Press also reports U.S. officials are confirming a second cargo ship has been struck by a ballistic missile fired from rebel-held territory. Top U.S. envoy says the U.S. agrees with Israel that the fight against Hamas will take months, but National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is urging Israel to scale back from high-intensity combat.
I will visit Ramallah to meet with President Abbas and discuss ongoing efforts to promote stability in the West Bank, including through efforts to confront terrorism, to support the Palestinian Authority security forces through the U.S. Security Coordinator for Israel and the Palestinian Authority.
Prosecutors in Denmark say authorities are holding 2 in custody and 4 others are the target in a terrorism probe. And 1 suspect has been detained in the Netherlands. The U.S. Senate delaying its holiday break, returning to work next week to hammer out an immigration deal. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer confirms the Senate will be back in session Monday. 12 sailors are safe after a rescue by a Carnival cruise ship in the U.S. Coast Guard. The Carnival Vista found 6 men in the ocean near the Dominican Republic after their cargo ship capsized. Another 6 men were unaccounted for and then plucked from the water by the Coast Guard. A shooting on the Ike left a tow truck driver in serious condition this morning. The shooting actually happened last night in the inbound lanes near California. 3 are injured after a house fire in Glendale Heights, where the fire chief says the blaze broke out around 10 p.m. in the 1400 block of Divine Drive. A body found in the trunk of a burning car in the Bridgeport neighborhood this morning. Firefighters put out the vehicle fire and found an unresponsive victim in the trunk of that car. The Thomas More Society is declaring a major victory after a U.S. District Court shut down Democrats' attempts in Illinois to end Illinois' pro-life pregnancy centers.
So the parties have now submitted to the court an agreed order that would permanently enjoin Attorney General Kwame Raoul from enforcing Senate Bill 1909.
The suit centered around that SB 1909, and that would have allowed Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul to shut down pregnancy resource centers in the state if the office determined they conducted so-called deceptive practices. The Thomas More attorney is Peter Breen.
Free speech is important, and that while we have disagreements on the issue of abortion or many other issues, the solution is not to silence our opponents. It's to allow more speech.
Breen says it's a win for Illinois and the rest of the country. SB 1909 has been called, quote, stupid, end quote, and very likely unconstitutional by courts in the past. North Central College looks to win back-to-back national titles and a 30th straight win in their Stag Bowl clash tonight against Cortland State of New York in Salem, Virginia. Cardinals seeking their 3rd Division III crown in 4 seasons. The Bulls snap a 2-game skid with a 124-116 victory over the Heat in Miami. Kobe White with 26. Blackhawks lost to Seattle 7-1. The news is a service of Turnkey.pro. Their team of veteran consultants know how to reduce costs and grow new revenue streams, all without having to hire on-site professionals. Visit Turnkey.pro, Turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum says Israel needs to keep up the pressure.
People don't like my take on this, and maybe I'm extreme on it, but they were cheering as mangled Jewish Israeli people were on the back of these trucks as they were driving them into Gaza as hostages. And then when the IDF come and spank you, now they want to play victim. I want Israel to just keep gunning it, the pedal to the metal.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. On September 6th, the government announced it will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000, with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement, with your VA benefits fully protected. You may be entitled to to a significant financial award for your Camp Lejeune claim, but you must act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune. Call now or you may forever lose your right to be awarded a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-299-7878. That's 800-299-7878. 800-299-7878.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
Hi, my name is Peg. I'm a wife, mother, and grandmother. I love being with family. We have so much fun doing things together, and that is really the priority of my life. Family is so important to me, and I want to stay healthy so that I can continue to do the things that I enjoy doing with all of them. I try and exercise and eat well, and balance of nature just helps me to put it all together and take me over the top. I really am happy that I came across it, and I've been taking it for probably 5 years, and I will continue to take it. I would recommend Balance of Nature. It's so easy to do every day. I feel great, and who doesn't want to feel great?
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off plus a free fiber and spice supplement as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
7:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. They're clearing an accident in Bloomingdale, DuPage County, Lake Street and Glen Ellen Road. Gurnee, an accident, US 45 and Dada Drive. Delays on I-80 this morning. It's been there for a long time. And big delays with 2 left lanes blocked on I-80 westbound between the Tri-State and I-57. Tri-State Tollway jamming up northbound between Halstead and I-80 due to a crash at 175th. 394, an accident with a right lane blocked northbound right before Glenwood Dyer Road. Chicago's Morning Answer, Dan and Amy, continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine for the morning, increasing clouds throughout the day. A high of 51, cloudy and 38 overnight. Drizzle and rain begin tomorrow. 35 and clouds at O'Hare, partly sunny, 25 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You know the good thing about Fat Pride being on the march?
What?
You can hear it coming.
Oh!
Fat Pride is on the march throughout our country, as we brought you earlier in the week. And, of course, that's going to include public places of accommodation like the airlines, which we'll get to in a second. But remember, Colorado is set to make discrimination against a person because of their heft just as illegal as immigration discrimination against a person based on their race or religion or sexual orientation. And some other states, like New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Jersey, are looking to follow Colorado's lead to instill a sense of fat pride in their states and communities within.
So what happens if you violate the fat phobia law?
Well, I mean, it would it's just again, it's tantamount to race or sexual orientation or religion. So you could face civil, maybe criminal penalties. Certainly, look what's happening in Ireland, where if you make someone feel uncomfortable, I mean, I know they don't have our Constitution and First Amendment protections, but there are a lot of members of the new Marxists in this country that don't seem particularly concerned about our First Amendment protections. So, but in Ireland, they're trying to advance a measure that would essentially create a comfortability standard when it comes to speech. Like if you say something that makes somebody of a marginalized group, in quotation marks, feel uncomfortable, then you could run afoul of the law and be sanctioned. In Ireland, that would potentially include imprisonment.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. How soon till Governor Pritzker has a big press conference and talks about the fat phobia law?
I mean,
and
again,
maybe it's coming to, Illinois.
Talk about, I mean, could there be a better spokesman?
I mean,
I
don't know about that.
Consistent with this ever-expanding list of victims in our country, Southwest Airlines leading the way. It is currently being celebrated by passengers of size. That's the proper terminology. Passengers of size. Passengers of size, if they fly Southwest, can request complimentary seats, 1 or 2, depending on needs, to accommodate their girth. Free seats. Customers who encroach past the armrest are entitled to an extra seat, according to Southwest's inclusion policy. They may be the only airline flying at present to offer free seats to passengers of size, but of course maybe they'll set the new industry standard. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. What do you think of Southwest's fat pride leadership?
I think that's discrimination. Because I love, if there's an empty seat next to me, it doesn't matter if you're fat or skinny, you want that seat because nobody's sitting next to you. I'm tall. What about tall people's rights? You're tall too, Dan. We'd like a little extra room.
Well, but here's the thing.
And then what's the weight? What's it, you 300 pounds, 250? Like what? Who defines who's obese or not?
If you encroach over the armrest.
Oh, that's their rule.
It's not a bad standard. Yeah. Now this is being championed by J. Ray. She is a fat pride leader and influencer, and also a expert. She's a TikToker, of course. She's a plus-size travel expert as well. Somehow she became a plus-size. She probably comes in about 28 stones. I'm using the British measurement for weight to make it to be a little bit more charitable. 28 stones, probably. For those of you who don't know.
How many lbs is that?
1 stone is 14 pounds.
Oh.
She's probably 28-ish, I'm guessing. You can do the math on that. But she was the one who we talked about several months ago, who circulated that change.org petition for the FAA to intervene.
All right.
And so maybe this is smart on Southwest's part, get there before the FAA does. We'll get to that change.org petition because she had a list of demands, but this is a good start. Good start. She's and the nice thing about the 1 or 2 seats, because she said, she told Fox News, it's an important move to include people in the quote unquote super fat category, not just the fat category.
So if I'm sitting, or you, because you take Southwest sometimes, right? So you're sitting, because you're svelte, you're sitting next to, you have an empty seat next to you, and some tub of lard comes on the plane. So you have to move to accommodate for that person. Is that fair?
Passenger of size.
You can say, I'm identifying as a plus-size traveler right now, so I need this seat.
Well, here's the thing. Now,
if you're that fat, buy 2 seats. Bottom line.
Well, but that's up to Southwest. Southwest is saying, need to buy. We'll give you the extra seat or 2 seats.
Keep eating.
Maybe a whole row. Maybe the full row. Maybe 4 seats or 6 seats. But But then think about it this way: you don't, if you were otherwise going to have to sit next to a passenger of size that was spilling over the armrest, now you don't have to because they've got the room they need, and then you're back with the less Rubenesque passengers.
But we've both been on flights, Dan, where everybody's fat.
Well,
there's not enough seats to go around.
Hmm.
God, I'm really...
Got to space them out, too, I would think. But Tim and Aurora, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning. I Southwest, they really don't treat their people very well because they charged my wife $939 to fly from Baltimore to Chicago one way because they said her credit card or the ticket she bought was a scam or a fraudulent deal, even though her sister were on the same trip and she got on an airplane no problem. So a one-way flight was $939 from Southwest to Chicago.
Yeah, but bags fly free, so you got that going for you.
Oh, exactly. It's like, how can they say that and do that to people?
Thanks for the call, Tim. By the way, again, just Jay Bay here, deferring to the plus-size travel expert. Super fat is how we identify. Super fat. There's a spectrum of fatness, and a super fat individual, you start needing different accommodations. I just felt really happy there was something like this for people. I hope to see more airlines implement customer of size policies. The Southwest customer size policy helps many travelers offset the disproportionate costs that we incur because of needing extra room. And so it's not just about physical accessibility, it's also about financial accessibility. What happens if the fat can't afford to fly? Did you ever think of that?
What about the emergencies and getting off the plane in a hurry? They will block everything up. Text message into the station.
Yeah, you don't want them maybe in an emergency row. Sue in St. Charles.
Yeah, so I'm about, 8 or 9 stones. And every time I get on
all right.
yeah. And, to me, it's like I'm paying the same price for a ticket. Obviously, everyone has that complaint where if I get a plus-size person next to me, they may be paying the same price, but they're half in my seat. And I always thought, why don't they just, charge people by the pound? So if you're 14 stones, maybe each stone is $20 or something. So it may incentivize people. And another thing in our society that might incentivize people to actually be healthy instead of rewarding these people to be fat asses.
Wow.
Wow.
You took it one step further than I did, girlfriend.
Well, that just ended Fat Pride Week here on AM 560.
Well, they do that in Japan. There's an airline in Japan that they weigh you, and you pay based on your weight.
Yeah, like cattle. J-Ray has an alternative if you don't want the plus-size passengers to get extra seats for free. Reimbursement. Airlines should offer a refund for customers of size who purchase additional seats independently. This refund process should be an official written policy that's easy accessible for all passengers who purchase additional seats independently due to their size. So she's got, she's got all sorts of alternatives to make sure that we accommodate passengers of size, including, again, this is her nomenclature, the super fat, who may need 2 extra.
I was stuck in between 2 fat people once, and I had a panic attack. But I was 9 months pregnant at the time. I could have lost Eli. Or Peyton. I was pregnant with Peyton. Coming back from a rappers convention in Miami. And I had about 300 pounds next to me and 250 on the other side. And I had no room. I was in the middle seat.
Well, what were you checking in at that point?
I was like 180. Well, but I was preggers. I was about to burst, and I was a little bloated. I was retaining water, as they say.
Well, I mean, again, it's just the weight. The weight is the weight. We don't care how many people you're hiding. So, I don't know. Bill in Waukegan.
Hey, I just wanted to say, good morning, first of all, and happy weekend, everybody. But I went on an airline over to Michigan one time, and you had to weigh in prior to going on the plane so they can distribute the weight equally.
Well, sure.
And I tell you, the first couple ladies that were there in front of me, they had to hop on the scale and the ticket agents trying to, slowly or in a calm voice say what they weigh, and I'm going like, oh my gosh. And I had my headphones on, so I was trying to look inauspicious and not like I was listening. But Those two girls were pushing 180, 196, each. And I'm sitting there going like, well, like I said before to you guys, I was going to sit next to a fat chick because we had to go over Lake Michigan. So, my raft and everything else was ready.
All right. Hey, there again, Fat Pride Week has come to a halt.
Well, 180 is not that big. I mean, we're talking big.
No, by the way, you don't. If you're asked, what your weight is, that's not before a flight. That's not a form you want to lie on. That's not a question you want to lie about.
Don't.
Lou in Chicago Heights.
In my youth, my real name's Pat, and I grew up Fatty Patty, and that drove me to be an athlete and be as athletic as I possibly can. And throughout the years, I became a chef. And I ended up getting up to 440 pounds. I got an injury, and I lost 200 pounds. And I'm sitting in front of a gym right now where I'm going to swim 2 miles today. I'm going to do some other stuff. My blood pressure at 64 years old, 128, 60. I have I have no diabetes. I'm unmedicated on this stuff. Why do I have to take personal responsibility for my life when these other people can't? I'm still big. I'm probably 290, and I train every day. And then you've gone to boxing events that I've been involved with. I see kids so obese, it sickens me that their parents put that crap in their mouth. Not outwork a bad diet, and you cannot accept being fat. Today I don't. I just flew across country last week to go to USA Boxing Nationals. I tell you, I was a medium-sized person on this plane at close to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Tell you something. Fatty Patty is literally growing up the man named Sue. Because I had to fight my entire life. And we take this away from people. I cannot stand the country I live in anymore. It sickens me.
Thanks for the call, Lou. I think Lou needs a exercise tape or a infomercial like Richard Simmons back in the day or something. He could be the next Tybo guy or something.
That's a huge
But for
accomplishment
boxing.
to lose all that weight. Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's about to go swim 2 miles?
Well, good for him. Absolutely. And getting kids in boxing, too.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, West Loop.
Yeah, I'd like to look at the more positive side of this. Market opportunity for new type of fat suits.
New type of fat suits.
Yeah.
So you can get the.
purchase
So you wear like the sumo wrestler suit, so you can get the extra seat and have some
Exactly.
room to yeah. All right, thanks for the call, Brad. Tom and Oswego.
Hey, good morning, Danny. First of all, I'm an oversized guy, but Dan, we don't say fat. I'm big boned.
Big boned.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah. Got a glandular problem.
We're
Right.
fortunate. We travel quite a bit, so we upgrade the business. Again, that's a blessing that we have. But my question would be, what if I was a skinny guy and I identified as a fat person,
right?
Which people can identify anything they are nowadays. Would that allow me to then have an extra seat next to me, even though I wasn't fat or
That's
big
great.
boned? Excuse me.
Great question. We'll have to reference Southwest Airlines inclusion policy to see if they've got an FAQ on that.
Well, as long as you sit down and you kind of put your girth above, on the armrest and let it overflow, then you could claim that you're obese and you need that seat, right? Or is it the seatbelt extender? I mean, it's going to be fun to watch a plane full of fatties try and get that free middle seat, don't you think?
Well, like I said, you have first class and you get, the better meals and the better drinks and the hot towels and all that. But you just have like a Zoftig class where you get the extra, you got to you sort of offer a euphemism, the Rubenesque class or something like that, the big boned, and you get certain accoutrement. Bill, Cape Coral, Florida.
Yeah, there's a positive side to this. But I was on a plane and I was the only one in the 3-seat row, and the plane was filling up. And I looked here down the aisle comes this real heavy woman doing like a sidestep because she couldn't go forward because her hips would hit the sides of the trail. I just looked up and I said, Lord, please don't let her sit next to me. I'll go to church every Sunday. I'll go to church Wednesdays, whatever. And she went right on by me. And I said, I've been going to church ever since. So it is a positive thing.
Sure. Yeah, we've got Bill back to church. Thanks for the call. Yeah. Religious experience.
Whew.
Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I got an answer for this. Hey, you could have your buddies get a nice cardboard box with a lot of padding in it, and they can send you cargo. It'd probably be cheaper flight
Oh
anyway.
my God, you guys. Okay,
come
all
on.
right.
Hey,
Yeah, you're even going further
be
than
flying
Amy.
if you're pregnant anyway.
All right, Larry. Boy, we started off with such a positive Fat Pride Week and it's descended to this. Eduardo in Tampa Bay.
Well, I don't have to worry about this because I'm going to Brazil next week and I'm flying at Copa Airlines, so I'm going to be comfortable in my aisle seat. So let's fly more international instead of domestic.
Europeans are not as big as us, I can tell you that much. Dan and Amy, don't forget the free seats costs will likely get pushed into normal ticket prices to absorb. Nothing is for free with airlines.
Well, that is a question. I mean, because that obviously would cut into their profit per seat, like at Southwest. So how do they make up that difference?
What if the flight is full? Do skinny honkies get bumped?
Yeah, lots of questions. We're going to have to effort a Southwest HR rep to answer all these questions. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer
Hallelujah! Holy
on AM 560.
Where's the Tylenol?
The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
You know, if you're serious, though, about taking care of your body, why not try Balance of Nature? I mean, if I ever have a sweet tooth, just grab one of those fruit capsules and chew on that rather than get a cookie or some chocolate. I'm telling you, it works. 31 whole fruits and vegetables in those bad boys. Real food, real nutrition. People who take it love it. They're addicted. They have increased energy, which means they can sleep better at night. And someone told me she just feels good that she's doing something for herself, being positive. 800-246-8751. That's the number to call, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago, 35% off for first-timers and free shipping. Give it a try. Be proactive. Do something for yourself. Get Balance of Nature. Or online at balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago. Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, James Bovard on the state of free speech in America. And then at the bottom of the hour, it's that time of the week.
Open Mic Friday, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Closing arguments continue in the Ed Burke trial. Elgin teen is charged in a Bartlett crash. Mayor Johnson unveils his public safety plan. And the Chicago City Council votes against a sanctuary city question on the ballot. Bears and Browns continue preparations. Bulls turn down the heat. The Blackhawks get crushed by the Kraken. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
How much longer will Israel be waging war in Gaza? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. National Security Advisor says it could go on for months. But Jake Sullivan says it could also scale back sooner than that.
We had a very constructive conversation yesterday about the transition from the high-intensity phase forward.
The phase where Israel focuses more precisely on Hamas leadership.
Sullivan met with Netanyahu and his war cabinet. Today, Sullivan's meeting with the president of the Palestinian Authority to discuss what Gaza looks like after Israel withdraws. Part of his trip will focus on getting a pause back in place so that more hostages can be released. But in the background is this reported private push from Vice President Kamala Harris for Biden and the White House to display more public concern for Palestinians.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. More than 18,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war. Iran-backed Houthi rebels have gone on the attack again off the coast of Yemen, hitting 2 cargo ships near the Red Sea, causing fires. A plan to shoot up a synagogue in Canton, Ohio, thwarted. The accused plotter, a 13-year-old boy.
Planning to stream the act on the platform Discord. The Stark County Sheriff's Office says an FBI agent alerted the department to the Discord post. According to court documents, when confronted by law enforcement, the boy admitted to being part of multiple online anti-Semitic groups.
As Fox's Tom Graham, arraignment is set today for 3 San Antonio police officers. 2 are charged with murder in the death of a woman back in June. Melissa Perez was shot in an altercation while having a mental health episode. The other cop charged with aggravated assault. Prince Harry has won his lawsuit against a British tabloid publisher. A justice in the High Court ruled the Daily Mirror newspaper publisher used information from hacked phones. Harry's lawyer, David Sherborne.
This case is not just about hacking. It is about a systemic practice of unlawful and appalling behavior.
Prince Harry was awarded $180,000. America's listening to Fox News.
35 degrees, partly to mostly sunny at the moment. Clouds on the way. 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway left a tow truck driver in serious condition. Illinois State Police say the shooting occurred in the inbound lanes of I-290 near California around 11 p.m. last night. 3 were injured in a house fire in Glendale Heights. Glendale Heights Fire says the blaze broke out Thursday evening around 10 p.m. in the 1400 block of Divine Drive. 1 was transported to the hospital in serious condition. A body found in the trunk of a burning car in the Bridgeport neighborhood this morning. Chicago police say firefighters doused the flames, and then a victim was found unresponsive in the trunk of that car. The victim pronounced dead at the scene. Chicago sports found the Browns and Bears continuing preparations for their battle in Cleveland on Sunday. Bulls snap a 2-game losing skid with a 124-116 victory over the Heat in Miami. Blackhawks gave up multiple goals in a 7-1 loss to the Kraken in Seattle. They host Vancouver on Sunday. And Northwestern looks to bounce back from an embarrassing loss to Chicago State when they host the DePaul Blue Demons at Wintrust Arena tomorrow. It's 8:03. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stock futures are higher, a sign the Dow could build on its record-setting rally. Investors are betting the economic slowdown next year will avoid recession, in other words, a soft landing, after the Federal Reserve suggested it will cut interest rates next year. AT&T will be using Rivian electric vehicles. It's part of AT&T's plan to reduce costs, cut carbon emissions, and improve safety. Rivian's exclusive deal to supply Amazon ended last month, so it can now sell trucks to other companies. Investor Nelson Peltz is nominating himself and Jay Rizzullo, Walt Disney's former chief financial officer, to the Disney board. Disney says its nominating committee will review the proposed nominees. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:04, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees one answer in 2024.
I'm going to be on board with any Republican who's the nominee. But I think only one guy stands a chance against this vicious yet sophisticated machine that is ginned up against the Republican Party, and that's Donald J. Trump. He's the guy.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I want to tell you that Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift for someone you love. I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews. I love that they're family owned. Hey, getting engaged? Well, Roland's Jewelers has a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? Listen, I've been a customer of Roland's Jewelers for a long time. You should too. They're so impressive. Their staff is expertly trained. I encourage you to visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this holiday, just like I do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful career for a lot of years. People still come up to me all the time, and they go, "How are you, Kathy Lee? How's your va-va-voom?" And I laugh with them, and I tell them, still going strong, still taking my balance of nature every day, and telling all my friends and loved ones to do the same. Because it's balance of nature, changing the world, one life at a time.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
.807. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. I-80, solid traffic due to an overturned semi blocking 2 left-hand lanes. Only the right lane is open. I-80 westbound between the Tri-State and I-57. Tri-State has a crash being dealt with at 175th. You're delayed northbound between the Thornton Quarry and I-80 this morning. 394 has an accident northbound between US 30 and Glenwood Dyer Road. Dan Ryan is jammed on the south end especially. And then you hit 47th, you'll hit brake lights again all the way up to Roosevelt. Stevenson, 37 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, increasing cloudiness, mild day, high 51, cloudy tonight, low 38. Periods of rain and drizzle from late morning tomorrow, the high 44. A morning shower Sunday, otherwise cloudy, the high at 46. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
At 8:08, it's time to call Permaseal, 800-421-7325. Time to check those temperatures. Partly sunny and 35 at O'Hare, 38 Midway, 25 Aurora, 39 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is Chicago's Morning Answer
Merry Christmas.
on AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This story comes to us from our friend Jason Rance in the Pacific Northwest. 10th grade ethnic studies world history teacher at Chief Sealth International High School in Seattle gave students a quiz entitled Understanding Gender versus Sex. There were two questions that were particular importance, apparently, because the student got them wrong, in quotation marks, and failed the quiz. A true or false statement, all men have penises. The 10th grade student in the Seattle High School labeled the statement true since, well, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Mhm.
Incorrect.
Oh, really?
Women can have a penis. as
Oh,
we
we
know.
can? Oh. I'm going to go get one. I'll be right back.
The other question, true or false again, only women can get pregnant. Don't fall for the trap. Trick question. But he did. He fell for the trap. He said true. And that, of course, is false. Men can, of course, get pregnant. We know this now. He got those two questions wrong. He failed the quiz, and Mom notified our friend in sound, Jason Rantz, about this. She also said that various teachers at the school have called her son effed and racist, a product of the patriarchy that teaches young boys not to care about anything. He shouldn't use the term straight to identify as because it's offensive. That's part of the inclusive atmosphere the left is creating at this high school in Seattle, like they are in our culture writ large. It's so inclusive. Mom's still proud of her son for marking the correct answers, even though the high school she's sending her kid to is an incubator of totalitarianism. So that's what's happening, and that's why, in part, talked about COVID lockdowns, but the plummeting of test scores, and there's more out today the other day with the PISA scores internationally. The plummeting of test scores in the West is something to behold. And as usual, there's a lot of variables. But turning schools into these sorts of indoctrination camps, that's definitely part of the conversation. For more, we're pleased to be joined by James Bovard. He's editor for The American Conservative, author of the just-released book, Last Rites, The Death of American Liberty. Doesn't sound so optimistic. James, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on. It doesn't sound optimistic, but the book has a lot of comic relief.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. It's tough. It's tough to parody reality these days. So you must have really gone next level there. But sort of we talk about the speech on college campus and intemperate remarks that are made by protesters and so forth. But what about when it becomes an actual part of the curriculum, like this Seattle anecdote?
Well, it's so sad that people are taking their values from government officials and politicians, because that's halfway to being a serf. Because back in the old days, the schools were supposed to teach kids how to read, write, maybe arithmetic, and nowadays instead they're imposing values. It's almost like that the schools are on a missionary purpose, and they're trying to save the barbarians from their own family's values.
Well, and here's the thing about this, just to stay on this specific example in the larger conversation. NPR Marist poll finds now 40% of Americans believe in transgenderism, believe that someone born a man can be a woman and vice versa. Almost 40%. So, here we go. It started out, 5-10 years ago, it would be in the single digits. It wasn't even discussed. Now, because of the relentlessness of the left and their control of media and so many of our mediating institutions, you have it's a 60-40 proposition. And there's just not the willingness by enough, it would seem to me, thus the march, to stand up and say no. And by the way, this is being driven by a political party, of course. The only cohort where a majority believe in the fiction that a man can identify as a woman and be a woman, it should be treated exactly like an actual woman. Democrats 2-1, 64-33. So it's the ideology of a political party, but it happens to be one of the two major political parties, and it is being driven and it is persuading.
Yeah, and it's being driven a lot by the schools. I've got some discussion of the transgender stuff in Last Rites. If you look at San Francisco School District, that school district encourages teachers to refer to children's parents as caregiver 1 and caregiver 2 instead of mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
And for the school district in Michigan, instead of referring to boys and girls, they're supposed to refer to earthlings, or people with vulvas, or people with penises, and it's like, this is just bizarre. It's funny, except that, as you said, I mean, there are stupid questions on tests, and all of a sudden you got penalties. You have teachers throwing penalty flags for the damnedest nonsense, and it's like, I don't know when basic biology got canceled. What is this, the Soviet Union?
Right. Well, when is enough going to be enough, though? I mean, I would never parents have to say, I'm your mom. I'm not a birthing person.
Yes. Well, I think that there are a lot of parents who have called BS on this. I don't think that it's going to be that popular of an issue for the Democrats in the future, but I've been wrong before. And personally, I'm amazed at how far this has gone, because it's so sad to encourage all these children starting in kindergarten to anguish about their own gender, because this is not something people should waste time thinking about. You've got a tiny percentage of folks that might actually have spontaneous thoughts on this, but it's almost like the kids are being indoctrinated to agonize about who they are.
It's not almost, and then they're being rewarded, so that just encourages more. I mean, there's a story out about a University of Washington volleyball player, one of the 12 scholarships for the University of Washington, it's Division I, Pac-10 school. One of the 12 scholarships for the women's volleyball teams is going to a dude who's identifying as a woman. So the idea that a lot of people thought, well, once it gets to men playing women's sports, that's when people are really going to draw the line. No, they're still on the march. They're still closing the gap.
They are, but it's good that there's a lot more ridicule and a lot more of a backlash. I think it certainly helped that Elon Musk bought Twitter, because that's a place where people can offer blunt comments on this. It's fascinating to me to see that the schools have absolved themselves from teaching basic literacy simply because they're busy doing this indoctrination stuff, which is wrecking so many lives and undermining a lot of families.
One other matter of being a free people or not. We mentioned earlier in the program, we've been mentioning for some time now, Section 702 of the FISA Act that was just voted up by the House and reauthorized for another 4 months, warrantless searches by the FBI, despite the documented abuses that are in the hundreds of thousands. And the surveillance state intersecting with the censorship industrial complex that journalists like Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger have been reporting on since the Twitter files revelations, and the concern you have for those two enterprises independently, and certainly the collaboration between them.
Yeah, did a couple pieces this week on the 702 stuff. Had a piece yesterday in the New York Post and a piece a couple days early in the American Conservative on that. It's amazing how so few members of Congress give a damn about the Bill of Rights. And there was a tweet I sent out 11 years ago saying basically a person would have to be a damn fool to trust Congress to protect their rights and liberties. And that was even before Edward Snowden. And all the evidence has come out since then. And yet you have all these members of Congress who simply don't care or are trying to make the law actually a whole lot worse. There was a bill from the House Intelligence Committee that would have would have expanded the FISA 702 coverage to include the Wi-Fi's at hotels. I mean, folks thought that the Wi-Fi was bad at Comfort Inn already. It could get a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, right. G-Man could be on the other side, right?
Oh, my goodness.
James Bovard, contributing editor for the American Conservative, author of the just-released book, Last Rites, The Death of American Liberty. Pick it up. James, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here.
On AM 560.
We're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye.
The Answer.
Author, psychologist, and professor Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is coming to the Chicago Theater on February 12th with his highly anticipated We Who Wrestle with God tour. the best-selling author of 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order, has sold out more than 400 venues, and his online programs have helped tens of thousands of people. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com.
Napleton Mazda of Naperville would like to invite you to come in for a test drive during the Season of Inspiration event going on now through the end of the month. Take advantage of remarkable savings like 0% APR financing for 60 months on a brand new 2024 Mazda CX-5. Save on over 700 new Mazdas at Napleton Mazda of Naperville and napervillemazda.com. Offer to qualified buyers through Mazda Financial Services. 0% APR equals $16.67 per $1,000 finance. Expires 12/31/23.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. No wonder Randy Weingarten of the American Federation of Teachers and other big government union leaders wield so much power in Washington. According to a new report by the Commonwealth Foundation, the 4 largest government unions dumped more than $700 million into Democratic causes and campaigns in just the last election cycle. The contributions from these government union political action committees, or PACs, made up about 40% of political spending. And that spending was anything but even-handed. In the 2021-22 election cycle, more than 99% of their federal PAC and 95% of state PAC contributions went to Democrats. The government bureaucracy, otherwise known as the administrative state, was created to be a nonpartisan class of government experts. Powered by the PACs and the membership fees of government unions, it's instead become a hyper-partisan political arm of the Democrats.
Brace yourself for the ultimate holiday deal with Consumer Cellular. Snag an incredible 50% off the Iris Flip when you buy before December 17th, making it only $34.50. The Iris Flip is all the phone and camera you need with a user-friendly design, the perfect flip phone companion. Plus, you'll get nationwide coverage and always free activation. Score 50% off when you use promo code RADIO50. Head over to consumercellular.com and use promo code RADIO50 during checkout to score this deal.
Testosterone levels are at an all-time low. Individual T levels decline 1% every year. Chalk, CHOQ, is the new champion of natural testosterone boosters. Chalk's main ingredient is clinically studied to naturally boost testosterone 20% in 90 days. Supercharge your masculinity and boost your daily energy with Chalk's Male Vitality Stack. For a limited time, our listeners will get 30% off at CHOQ.com with promo code USA. CHOQ.com, code USA.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful career for a lot of years. People still come up to me all the time, and they go, "How are you, Kathy Lee? How's your va-va-voom?" And I laugh with them and I tell them, still going strong, still taking my balance of nature every day and telling all my friends and loved ones to do the same. Because it's balance of nature, changing the world, one life at a time.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
Hello, my name is Gina. When I first found out that I was pregnant, I was in a very dark place. I was living out of my car or on the streets, working as a dancer at a nightclub, heavily into drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know how I was going to deal with having a child. You know, people look at someone living like I was and say, that's why we need abortion. I didn't need an abortion. What I needed was help. So Aid for Women helped me move into Heather's house. They gave me everything. A place to stay, clothes, food, a listening ear, help with my daughter, everything. To learn more about my story, watch my video, and support this great organization, go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can help save lives and souls like mine from abortion today.
Aid for Women offers women real choice. They really do terrific pro-life work. Please step up and support this great organization. Go to helpaidforwomen.org.
Brace yourself for the ultimate holiday deal with Consumer Cellular. Snag an incredible 50% off the Iris Flip when you buy before December 17th, making it only $34.50. The Iris Flip is all the phone and camera you need with a user-friendly design, the perfect flip phone companion. Plus, you'll get nationwide coverage and always free activation. Score 50% off when you use promo code RADIO50. Head over to consumercellular.com and use promo code RADIO50 during checkout to score this deal.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yes, that time of the week, Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. It is sponsored by turnkey.pro, is Open Mic Friday. And we start, as always, with turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David?
Good morning, Dan and Amy. How are you?
Morning.
We're great.
So we're getting close to Christmas, and everyone can clearly see the preparations in the air. Except for maybe this year, it feels a little different. Feels like an old-fashioned carnival funhouse, where everything looks out of proportion, maybe even upside down. One, take for instance the Christmas at the White House. You remember Trump's first Christmas?
No.
You know, I had to step into the Wayback Machine to think about that. But the government was shut down partially. And he decided to spend Christmas in the White House rather than at Mar-a-Lago. It was big news. And, in the recent history, the Obamas went to Hawaii on our dime, and Biden's never really present. But then, anyway, in 2017, Melania was in charge of the White House decorations, and she was criticized for her white lights. And then the next year, she had the decorations that, remember the red trees? They were reminiscent of the capes from The Handmaid's Tale. The media hated her decorations, and they let everyone know how they felt. Now, contrast that to the latest decorations from Jill Biden, who released that video a couple of days. You guys see that?
Yeah, it was like the Moulin Rouge team there in the White House. It's a group, for those of you who've seen the video but don't know the details. The group is called Dorrance Dance, and on its website, among other things, it calls for defunding the police, abolishing prisons, and has quotes from communist Angela Davis. It's also got an entire section dedicated to anti-white literature.
Oh, that's nice.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
But that the theme though is magic, wonder, and joy. So there's joy in that, right? I mean, anyway,
and hating white people,
like
sure, yeah.
Well, it's crazy.
I got to tell you, here's my reason why they're doing it. Because remember how they came out a few months ago and said they're going to finally recognize their 7th grandchild? The one Navy who was born out of wedlock. Because last year they put up 6 stockings for each grandchild. They didn't put one. I think they did that to distract from the fact that they still don't have a stocking up for their 7th grandchild, that they lied to the public and said that they're going to start acknowledging now.
It sure could be, but I was amazed at the video. As these dancers are tap dancing in this candy cane themed hallway, and then they dance to the blue room and the Christmas tree, and then they continue to dance around and go into the different rooms to show the flamboyant decorations. And these dancers are dressed in like sequins, and they're very inclusive. And anyway, they're people.
You know what it reminded me of?
Obviously.
You know what it reminded me of, David? It reminded me of when I wowed the crowd with in Dancing with the Chicago Stars back in my day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was. But to me, that performance was like Willy Wonka meets Clockwork Orange, right?
It was. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Moulin Rouge burlesque show at the Birdcage.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Trump Christmas was classy, but this year it's more like a carnival funhouse than what you'd expect from the White House. And number two, take for example Christmas shopping. I was at Old Orchard the other day, one of the last remaining real shopping malls, and it was great fun. The decorations were out. I took the kids and my wife. And Christmas music was playing, and Interestingly, I didn't see sales like I saw when I used to frequent the mall when I was younger. Buy one, get one free, 70% off. That didn't exist. Everything was high priced, and I didn't see, a whole lot of overloaded shoppers with packages. That's kind of weird in my opinion, but I remember when the malls were the only place you would buy presents. Sometimes you'd go to the mall with your list of people and you'd try to browse the stores until you found something that would fit the person. And when Amazon first came along, can't remember exactly when that was, but I remember thinking there's no way that Amazon could replace brick and mortar stores. And that the idea that you had to try something on before buying it, I was completely wrong. I couldn't be more wrong. So Christmas shopping's now become something people do from their couches. And if it doesn't fit, no worries. There's free returns. And the process has become so convenient that it's so easy to manage. We simply lost something that was part of Americana, kind of long ago. Number three, there's another thing that doesn't make sense. UPS. My UPS driver came in the other day and we started chit-chatting. And he said he normally has a helper, but he doesn't need one this year. He said, it's pretty scary out there, David. I don't know what to make of it. I usually have 300 plus stops, and now I only have about 100 each day. I'm not sure if that's just Amazon traffic in their private delivery service or if people are just not buying and shipping as much. Maybe it's just another wacky room in this funhouse. And four, and I'll leave you with this one more, think about the stock market. If you seriously think about the stock market for half a minute, you start to develop a sense of cognitive dissonance. Why in the world would the stock market be at all-time highs with the conflicts we're involved in, with inflation at record levels, interest rates at 20-year highs, and consumer confidence being low? There's just no way. It doesn't make sense. Even my banker's scratching his head. Gold should be soaring, equities should be lower, and we should be in the midst of a recession, but we're not. The answer may lie, though, within BlackRock and Vanguard. Between the two of them, these firms have tens of trillions of dollars to invest, and they can control and manipulate the markets. Simply put, they can cause a Santa Claus rally. So my point is the stock market is not connected to Main Street, but rather to large corporations and the largest non-federal agency in the Federal Reserve. Now combine that with the voice of mainstream media, and you've got another instance where the reality of everyday families is much different from that of the elite Wall Street bankers and investment firms. The question is, how long can they keep the plate spinning before that whole thing comes crashing to the ground? So here's my point. If we're living in a fun house and everything looks distorted or upside down, we all know it's not real. And it only makes sense that something has to give. Although I would love a return to the way that Christmas used to be, and a lot of other things used to be, but I don't think there's a way back to where Christ is the center of Christmas again, and people spend time actually, putting some thought into their gift giving as a whole. So the moral of the story, watch out for the moment when the tap dancers stop tap dancing and all the spinning plates come crashing to the ground. There's no way they can keep up this charade forever. It just doesn't make sense. Have a great weekend.
Nice.
Thanks, David.
Put a nice bow on that package, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. Although, I agree with him about the market, although there are some countervailing opinions. Of course, the rally has been led by the Magnificent Seven, so it's a few mega companies that, like Amazon, the tech moguls that are leading that rally. But there's no question the manipulation by the Fed and to some extent the BlackRocks and the Vanguards has something to do with that as well. But one wonders if you can fight City Hall, so to speak, when it comes to market manipulations. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good discussion. One group I wanted to get to, too, the other day, but David set us up. There are some people that are still going to the brick-and-mortar stores, not using Amazon.
The robbers.
Yeah,
the smash
exactly.
and grabbers.
For example, a pair of organized shoplifters in Parker, Colorado, known as the KitchenAid Crew. Why are they called the KitchenAid Crew?
Why are they called the KitchenAid Crew? Because they're stealing KitchenAids.
They steal KitchenAid appliances,
yes.
Correct.
How do you appliances? You better be strong.
Well, they got caught in California with items that were more than $2,000 combined. But here's what the lawyer did. I love this. I just love this line of argumentation.
All right, what is it?
What was attempted? So both were convicted for felony retail theft. Apparently, in Colorado, they still prosecute people who steal.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it's foreign to us in Chicago, I know. But it was $2,094.98, sixth-degree felony theft charges. That's between $2,000 and $5,000. But since it was just $94.98 that separated the pair from a felony and a misdemeanor if it had been less than $2,000.
Yeah.
Their lawyer tried to argue the charge down misdemeanor because the merchandise they stole was on sale. That's some creative
Actually,
lawyering.
that's pretty. I thought he was going to bring in a coupon. Now,
Well,
Your
exactly.
Honor, if we use this coupon I clipped, then it'll be underneath, so it's not a felony.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what he said.
Oh, that's
exactly what he said. You have to apply the coupon, so the
Oh, did he
actual
really?
retail value is like Price is Right. The actual retail value was less than $2,000, but the judge didn't buy that because, as the prosecutor noted, the coupons or the sales price, those are for paying customers.
Oh.
Do you see the difference?
That's good.
But I love the creative lawyering there. All right. Anything you need to address before we start taking
No,
calls?
I'm good. I got the fatism out of me, so.
Yeah. Yep. Brought Fat Pride Week to Screeching
Yeah,
Hall.
I sure did. And you guys
312
can ease up on the text messages to me, okay? I know I'm a fattest, all right?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Stu in Barrington, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Dan, you're going to love this. You were talking about how manly John Daly was.
Yeah.
He played at Old Florida with as Ken Venturi's guest a long time ago.
Wow.
And he teed off from the back tees on number 10 and put the ball into the water off on the right. So he took a lateral drop, and he took like a 5-iron and stuck it on the pin and put it in for a birdie.
Nice. Yeah, and a 10's a par 5. I know that.
Oh, my God.
Hole very well. Thanks for the call, Stu. I didn't know the John Daly Venturi story. Maybe hey, look, I'm willing to host John Daly if he wants to come back out to Old Florida. But I have put it in the water right over the trap on that par 5 as well. Probably not the same distance as Daly, but
How was your golf game, by the way?
it's not. No, it's not.
Okay. Sorry, I
I can't
asked.
talk. It's. I'm not in a place emotionally where I can talk about it.
Okay.
Kevin, Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
Ireland's Prime Minister reporting into Dan and Amy on the inside dope of my work for a walk tomorrow. Now, with your gutter polling results of Slow Flow Joe, everyone is jawboning anxiously about your Gavin News something or other. And yes, the polls do say he has Hollywood hair, but he's got none of the green stuff. But you know who? Someone who does have the green stuff. Someone who by November may be wearing presidential hair. Do you know someone who's asked me to run his campaign? Dan, may I announce that one of Illinois' very own will soon have a very big announcement. I cannot tell you what it is today, but I will say this. You lucky, undeserving people of Illinois are ruled today by a plus-size model of a governor wanting to be, dare I say it, President J.B. Lizzo. Our underground campaign has been already hard at work, and I will now tell your audience some behind-the-scenes gossip. As you know, the launch is critical. JB's up to something good-for-nothing, idiot people floated the stupidest idea to announce his candidacy at a ceremony at Starved Rock. I put down my Irish foot, and I said, no, here's what we're going to do. Picture it, Dan and Amy. JB slowly looking around as he majestically rides the escalator down at that bastion of Chicago capitalism, Water Tower Place. Meanwhile, cue the audio. The world's only transgender billionaire, JB's Lieutenant Colonel brother, sister Jenny, leads a 21-gun salute. That place is a ghost town, so nobody's hurt, and it's downtown, so nobody's surprised by the gunfire. And the unions will be ably represented by the Teamster guys. There in case we have a breakdown of the escalator. Excellent hair, military, union, transgender, ergo, there won't be a dry eye in the mall.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I mean, the greatest storyteller since James Joyce.
He really takes
Prime
you
Minister
there, huh?
Kevin from Ogden Dunes. Wow. That was a stem winder. Really good, though.
That's awesome.
I can picture it now. I couldn't picture it before, but he did bring it into focus for me. Huh.
So good.
J.B. Lizzo. Boy. Bob in Buffalo Grove. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How do I follow that?
You can't. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Another good week of topical discussions. Thanks. Yesterday, even today, you mentioned Vivek Ramaswamy in his town hall with Abby Phillips, moderator. I wasn't aware of that event, and thanks for sharing it because I didn't hear the media cover it. It was good that you mentioned it. I wish more conservative politicians, others like Vivek, would turn the tables on the biased reporting and question them. It would be fun to have somebody question George Stephanopoulos or Welker, you name it. And into the future, 2024, how will the reporters spin the narratives on the coming presidential election? I hope some of the people being interviewed will take the reporters to task for how they're biased reporting on this. You guys have a good weekend.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I do want to get to another politician. The Prime Minister Kevin from Ogden Dunes inspired me, a politician from Illinois that has reached new heights of stardom.
Who's that?
She's the mayor of Boston.
Oh, yeah, Barrington's very own. She's so down with the struggle in Barrington, too.
Yeah, we'll have to get to her.
Yeah, she pulled a Mayor Lightfoot.
Mike in Kokana, making me hungry for cheese. Kokana, Wisconsin. Mike, who gave us, by the way, this week the best line of the week. Give us the best line of the week again, Mike, for people who missed it.
Okay, so Hunter shouted, "Give me Librium or give me meth."
There we go.
Channeling
Give me
his
meth.
inner-
Yes, very good. Yeah, very good.
So-
All right, go ahead.
I wanted to give you an update on the on how Southwest Airlines is qualifying their POS persons of size for the free seats. Apparently, they huddled with FAA officials last night, and they're not going to do it by weight or by girth, cubic yards, whatever.
Yards.
The only thing to look at is if you have a second brain in your hip just to drive your legs, you will get a free seat.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Cubic yards. The second brain was good too, but boy. Frank on the Northwest side.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Hope you guys are doing well. I had a question. I wanted to see what you thought about this one person that I really like who just got elected in Argentina, the President Javier Milei.
Yeah.
Who basically devoted himself to, shrinking the state, shutting down the central bank in Argentina, getting rid of some, ridiculous policies that they have there. And I think we need something like that in the U.S., like immediately. What are your thoughts on that?
Like Trump?
Thanks for the call, Frank. Well, Milei is he's the real deal. I thought he was just because he's basically a trained economist from the Austrian school, and I've read some of what he's written, both in terms of academic papers and as well as books that are more for public consumption. And you saw him on the campaign trail if anybody was paying attention or went back and looked. I mean, he basically, at his inauguration, it was like, liberty forever, damn it. I mean, that was like a rallying cry. And as he was saying, first act was, and we talked to Steve Moore on Wednesday about this, first act was to eliminate 12 of the 21, what effectively are cabinet level agencies in the Argentinian government. And he's moving full steam ahead, cutting subsidies, regulations, reducing public sector headcount. I think he was laying off everybody in government who hadn't been employed for more than a year in government. I mean, he's going full throttle right out of the gate. So it's pretty encouraging, and we're watching to see, because if he can turn Argentina around with, uninflation was almost 150% in October. If he can turn Argentina around and revitalize that country, then of course the hope would be that that model spreads in South America and maybe the rest of the Western Hemisphere, including a little bit more in America. But no, watching Javier Milei closely, and very encouraged with what he's done out of the gate, in addition to what he said on the trail. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning, Dan, Amy. Hey, you know how the argument is people cannot connect the dots, and that's why they make the same mistakes over and over. And, like, for instance, the people in Chicago complaining about the immigrants taking the resources that they believe they should get, why don't reporters ever ask them right off the bat, well, who did you vote for in the last mayoral election or governor's election? And if they're honest, more than likely they voted Democrat. And just then they might have an epiphany when you tell them that's what you voted for, this is what you get. Maybe they'll wake up and connect those dots. I don't know. I mean, it's worth, but I never understood why they never asked that question. Because have a good weekend.
Thanks for the call, Rick. No, it'd be good to, I mean, even within your social circles, you don't need a television camera there. It would be instructive, wouldn't it be, to hear from friends who voted for Pritzker, BLM Brandon, local and legislative officials throughout the suburbs. They're all of the same party. They're all of the same policy agenda. So what do you think now? And have you connected the dots? Are you going to change your ways? And you'll probably get some sort of anti-Trump nonsense back, but okay. At least you'll know. At least you know what you're dealing with, and you can separate those who perhaps have some chance of behaving like adults at some undetermined point in the future, and those who don't. Useful exercise. Ron in Varna, Illinois.
Morning, Dan and Amy. I seen Fox last week had an article about the veterans at the VA medical centers. They're not treating them because they're treating the illegals. They've treated over 150,000 illegals already, but they're refusing to treat the veterans. What's going on with that? Nobody's talking about it.
There was, thanks for the call, Ron. Yeah, I saw the reporting on that. There's some dispute about that. It's not that the veterans are not getting treated. There is some question about prioritization, and also the expenditures. But I think the argument was it was mostly prioritization for emergency for the provision of health care services in an emergency situation as in a non-emergency. But the bottom line is the conflation of the two is problematic. I mean, if somebody's in this country, whoever, even if they're here illegally, and if they have a health emergency, then of course you want them to be taken care of. Nobody wants anybody to be hurt or to die because of lack of health care when we have available health care. But the conflating of American citizens, particularly veterans, and those in this country illegally, the prioritization, the expenditure of resources. I mean, this all goes to the larger conversation about what exactly are we doing here. And the answer is we're not doing much of anything at the policymaking level, and so lawlessness reigns. And lawlessness turns out to be expensive.
Got a text message, Dan, for those who can't get in. Good story. Kevin has a horrible Irish accent. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Yeah, all right. Well, I don't know. He sort of made up for the maybe the lack of quality of the brogue with the volume of it. Uh-huh. So it sort of worked for me. Glenn in Oak Brook, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Dick Durbin, the senior senator from Illinois, who is high and mighty on Supreme Court ethics, but seems to be lacking on ethics when it comes to releasing the Jeffrey Epstein log files.
Well, yes, right. We covered that. Thanks for the call. Yeah, he's sort of playing dumb first he's heard about it, doesn't know anything about it, so on and so forth, but we still don't really have an answer in terms of his recalcitrance. It is curious. Dawn in Naperville.
Good morning. Thank you so much for taking my phone call. For those who don't know, there is alternative schooling within our public school system. And for those who didn't hear, the Illinois State Board of Education had ordered some of those facilities that were owned by Menta to be closed. The reason being is they were running and operating, accepting children from 41 different school districts without approval or state licenses. As a matter of fact, when the Illinois State Board of Education did their investigation on these specific schools, they found, and I quote, troubling restraint and timeout practices at the Springfield and Centralia locations. So I don't know if anybody from any of the news organizations in Chicago highlighted this, but if they didn't, it's really a shame. So I don't understand why these don't become more stories so that we understand what our public education system really offers.
Thanks for the call, Dawn. Steve in Orland Park.
Sweet. Yeah, hi. You mentioned lawlessness, and my gosh, where is this Mayor Magic Johnson and his police superintendent, who we've only seen once that I have? It's like this guy disappeared as Snelling. I heard armed robberies up the highest in 20 years, and he's always at ribbon cuttings, and the other guy, I don't know where he's hiding at. What is going on with this city and state? Help.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Well, they were out in full force yesterday rolling out their new public safety strategy. Here's BLM Brandon giving you the top line.
But I cannot deny that as beautiful as the west side of Chicago is, as beautiful as the neighborhood of Austin is, can't deny the fact that neighborhoods like mine have been shattered because there's not a real sense of safety and opportunity for people. No one should be afraid to walk around the block in the greatest city in the world. Safety is an essential human need. Safety is a right. As mayor and as city leaders, let's claim our responsibility. Let's honor our residents' desire and their right to safety by working together, by taking this first bold step as we move forward. And we will move with urgency. We will move with strategic intention. We also will move together.
All right, now everybody, let's break for lunch.
Okay, that's good. Wrap. It's a wrap. There's no opportunities for people on the west side. You're the mayor, and you live on the west side. There's opportunities for people.
It was in summary. It was more spending in indiscriminate manners on welfare programs, transfer payment programs, and also spreading some money around with respect to quote unquote violence interrupters and storefront preachers and the stuff. So more of the same that you've seen for the last 40 years.
And they had nice flyers and placards to hand to reporters. It's a bunch of gobbledygook.
Very Biden-esque explanations for his purposeful strategy to enhance public safety. Like, for example, he was asked a couple of times by ABC7 about the $100 million he's talking about for violence prevention. This is what it's going for and what it's actually already being actively employed to accomplish. See if you can decipher.
We have strategically identified neighborhoods and blocks where the violence is most pervasive, where disinvestment has been historically implemented. And by doing this, we are going right at the problem.
When you're talking about the $100 million, again, I'll just circle back to that for violence prevention. How is that being used again? I mean, in terms of how many people? I mean,
it's already being spent now. Look, the budget just passed, right? But we're already seeing the type of comprehensive collaborative approach that is yielding the results that I'm confident that those results are going to expand.
See, there's no brain there, like so many of these politicians. There's no brain that Brandon Johnson. There's just a mantra. there's just political cant between his ears that he recites. If you string together words like strategic and intentional and collaboration and results and more results and disinvestment, so we're going to add investment, then you don't really have to say anything specific. You certainly don't have to measure anything you're doing. And we just mosey along. Steve Bolingbrook.
Hey, yesterday my wife asked me, honey, do you know have you seen the dog bowl? Let me start over. Yesterday my wife says, honey, have you seen the dog bowl? I said, no, I didn't even know he could.
Hi-oh.
I don't even know he could.
Yeah, open on Mike Friday includes some sort of, some comedic offerings from those looking for a star turn at the Funny Bone. Jerry in Harwood Heights.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. If the Supreme Court rules in Trump's favor on this latest move by Jack Smith, will that open the door for the Supreme Court to overturn this fraud decision when the judge finds him guilty? And if it does get overturned by the Supreme Court, what are the chances of Trump taking all of his businesses out of New York and let New York have to deal with the tens of millions of dollars of lost tax revenue? And if he does, he should stand on the back of the moving van and give Letitia James the finger as that truck's moving out of town.
Thanks for the call, Jerry. So, you're sort of conflating some cases there. So the civil fraud trial in New York, that's unlikely to be taken up by the high court. I think it's possible, but unlikely, though I suspect Trump will appeal. And if he was facing the sort of, if the imposition of the punishment is effectively a financial death penalty for the business, then, he might be able to take it out of New York, but just to satisfy the judgment would bankrupt the company, potentially. The Supreme Court taking up the 1512C2, whatever, the provision in the 2002 Sarbanes-Oxley Act that relates to obstruction of a proceeding, obstruction of a official proceeding. So that has real potential to see the charges against Trump, some of the charges against Trump in the January 6th case dismissed, as well as the charges against hundreds of January 6th protesters, rally goers, dismissed. So depending on what they were convicted of, it could have them acquitted of all charges, and if they served prison sentence, released, or potentially potentially give them opportunity for a malicious prosecution civil claim. And if they were convicted on other charges in addition to that obstruction of an official proceeding charge, then you could see their sentences reduced based on the interpretation of that statute being held illegitimate by the Supreme Court. So that's why that development this week in the Trump case, and with that particular provision that the federal government is putting so much weight on with respect to everything January 6th was so important. Frank St. Charles.
Yeah, I think the mayor of Chicago gives new meaning to the term word salad.
Indeed. Thanks for the call, Frank. Phil in Maryville.
Yeah, hey guys. I just wanted to say, does the mayor think that these gangbangers who basically sell drugs and steal and rob, and let's say they make $1,000 a week, are they going to want to go out and work 40 to 60 hours, a real job, to make the same amount of money? I highly doubt it.
Thanks for the call, Phil. Close it out with Rich in Delavan.
Hey, thanks, Rich in Delavan.
Chuck and Delavan. What Rich?
I was like,
Chuck and Delavan, sorry.
Stroking out over there?
Yeah, it was a long week.
I'll be Rich in Delavan. I hope I get to be Rich in Delavan.
You'll be my Rich?
Hey,
okay. All right.
Thanks for mentioning my band Mosey Along. Tomorrow I'll be at the big Muskego Fire Department, and I'll be playing Santa Claus over there for them because they wetted down a helicopter landing pad on my job site last year.
big party this weekend over at the D-Like Duo will be playing from 2 to 5 over at the Tap Room in Lake Geneva. Get over there after you get done throwing some axes. So you should be pretty fired up. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Thanks also to Justin Kosick, our technical producer. That pajamagram's on its way, I heard. And to Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. Have a wonderful weekend. We're back here next Monday. And now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
An Elgin teen charged in a deadly Bartlett crash, and the Bulls turned down the heat. WIND, Chicago News Time 9.
A meeting with the Palestinian president. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. For National Security Advisor Jake